Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Another shot fake. And the drive and the layup. And one for Jared Butler.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Gallup for a first down and a Cowboys touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here goes Mitchell. Oh, what a pass! Driving off that baseline, Maceo Teague.
Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
All right, here we go on this Friday. It's the last Friday of June. With the 4th of July weekend barreling down, not on us now, but at some point it will be. Paul Catalina, David Smoak in studio. We're also joined by Emma and Hayden and Armstrong. Craig Smoak with the day off. He is visiting his sister's new home up in the Dallas and Fort Worth area with both his mother and also Jennifer and Daniel. I was up there this past weekend. It is very, very nice.
Is he ready, though, for, like, tasks? That first couple weeks in the new home, when you go to visit people, you think you might get to go visit, but then you walk in.
No, you end up working.
And it might be hey.
I cooked. I did that. Yeah. I did some yard work, and I cooked. But so he's out today, but he'll be back. Hey, Bill Peterson, one of the members, and you really don't hear much from him or about him, but he's a very integral part of Scott Drew and the national championship staff. He'll join us at 4:30. He's going to take some players to Macedonia to play in Athletes in Action. When I was younger, that was a big deal, and it still is. There's so many different people traveling, whatever. He'll join us at 4:30. Grayson on another huge official visit weekend. In fact, who was I speaking to about the amount of, obviously hospitality, the food, the entertainment, as far as, making sure that players and their parents have something to do throughout the day and the amenities and all that stuff. Speaking of which, I'll start with this. And Grayson at 3:45. We're going to rerun Mack Rhoades today in the 5 o'clock hour. T-Rex asked me if it was a new segment. Well, no, it's earlier with all the NIL, all of the college football playoff, and all of the Supreme Court information, and so much more. And we hadn't had Mack in about a month, and so we'll have that today in the 5 o'clock hour. And then also another teaser segment with my sit-down with legends, Don Truell, and also Lawrence Elkins. Tony, I've heard about 310.
Yeah.
I've heard about it, Elm Avenue, which is right off of MLK, right across from the Washington Bridge. And we're here right there in the corner of MLK and 101 Elm. And I've heard about it, and what they've done with Elm Avenue is unbelievable. And, of course, there's 2 brand-new hotels that are going up right next to us. This is a brand-new facility. We're in the bottom corner with a bunch of apartments or condos, whatever. But they've really cleaned up Elm Avenue all the way down. And I've heard about 310. It's a food truck. But it's got more than that. There's got areas to sit, and he's getting ready to try to do something next door that's a little bit even more higher level kind of food. And I've never been able to eat there because I'm always getting here around 2:30. They usually shut it down around 2 or whenever they're out. Mm-hmm. I went by there. I drove by there down Elm, and I was like, oh, my God, the door's open. The windows are open. There are people sitting there. One of them was Tony. He got us some gumbo, gave us some brisket, gave us some crab cake, and a few other things. And so we have that for all of those in the studio today. And thanks to Tony. He's a happy guy.
And thanks to you for bringing it in, Smokey. Yeah, Tony's got that old school restaurant owner thing. When you go in, you talk to him about the game or what's going on. I like that. That whole, you walk into the place and the guy who's the boss sits down and jaws with you a little bit.
Yeah, he was talking Baylor football with me.
Like Cesar does at Leal's.
Yeah, at Cesar at Leal's Mexican restaurant in Woodway. And so we're talking Baylor football, his food. He goes, hey, listen, the players that are coming up from like the southeast in Texas, they know where we are. They know this is where you come. And so thanks to Tony, man, he's a big, happy man. Appreciate him. and also the hospitality there at 310 for our crew today at SicEm365 Radio. Number open if you would love to call. We're kind of open until Grayson at 345, 254-339-1122. So I saw this note popped earlier today. Baylor and Stanford are going to start a home-and-home series in college basketball. Men, the women have played Stanford on occasion. Baylor and Stanford, a home-and-home series starts this year in Waco and then the following year in Palo Alto. And so, you know, I mean, that's another. So you have Villanova at home, right, Paul? Is Villanova at home?
I believe so,
and
yeah.
And then also you now have Stanford at home in the upcoming season. Here's a note. Paul, what does this actually mean? This is from John Rothstein, who has never responded to me when I've asked him to come on this show. No, that's not right. That's not correct. He did. He just never could. The last three national champions. Now, think about how I word this. Baylor, Virginia, and Villanova had a combined 21 players that logged double-figure minutes in the past three national championship games. That's about right. That's about 7 guys on each team, and maybe one team had 8. Only 3 of the 21 players who logged double-figure minutes in the last 3 national championship games, only 3 were in their first season with any of those 3 teams.
I think what that means is we've seen the shift happen. Because we had, for a little while, it was teams that could get all the guys who were going to be one-and-dones. Like, those are the teams that were winning because those are the best players available. Well, that was, you saw that glorious Anthony Davis Kentucky team where I think they had 6 one-and-dones, maybe 7 on that one team. And they won the national title. I think they only lost once the whole year, twice. And they were fantastic. They beat Baylor in the Elite
Atlanta.
Eight. Yep. Yeah, in Atlanta. In the most fans I've ever seen at a basketball game in my whole life, all wearing the same shirt. But that team was kind of and there were a couple teams after it, but after that, you started to see teams say, okay, if we're not going to get the one-and-dones, how do we combat this? And there was also the transfer portal that opened up, so that made it easier to have people who are going to be veteran players because when they're in the transfer portal, they're already a veteran player. And you get people who are there for 3 and 4 years, you're going to be better than most teams. And then when you go and take on that team full of youngsters, you have a better shot because you got guys who know how to play. And I'm not saying you're not going to see another team like that Kentucky team flare up because if it happens, it happens. But, now with the G League thing.
But is this going to be tested now with the transfer portal? Because you have, for example, what Chris Spears done in Texas.
I think the transfer portal helps it because – well, I guess so. I mean, the first season with the team, yeah.
Like, there's a good chance 4 or 5 guys at Texas are first-year guys. That's it. First of all, you got to get to the national championship game first. There's only 3 in the last. How many teams have been in it? Like 180-something teams or whatever.
But I think what it says is that
in the tournament,
veteran teams are more than likely going to make it to the Final Four. Now, teams that know each other, teams that play together for a while, and look, Scott Drew's team is full of transfers, but. I mean, at least this might be starting anew because now the rule is you can play right away, once you transfer. So there's nobody sitting out anymore, so that might change it. But, I mean, in Scott Drew's case in particular, it helped it because those guys had to be on the team for a year and not playing.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal, at least from the way I look at it, could test this a little bit because you're having a lot of guys come in and the load teams up. Now, they got to still get there. There's 68 teams every year or whatever the number is. So 3 out of 136, 204 teams or whatever it is, get to win the national title, and 21 of them had double-figure minutes. Only 3 of the 21 were in their first year. And I'm trying to think of anyone in their first year at Baylor who would have logged double-digit minutes last year. It wouldn't have been Flo, wouldn't have been Jonathan Chamwachachua, it wouldn't have been Butler, it wouldn't have been Mitchell, it wouldn't have been Maceo, it wouldn't have been Meyer, it wouldn't have been Flagler. So they may not even be. I don't know. Is there a first-year guy last year at Baylor? Who am I missing? Am I missing somebody?
Of guys who played in the game.
They would have played 10 minutes or more. I'll go to the box score. But
I mean, even with the blowout, the way that it was in that game, even the guys who had been in their first year and played wouldn't have played 10 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
I mean, that's
either.
the whole half of the second half.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to that year and just in case I can find it and look at the box score. And it doesn't matter, but there's three, as I mentioned, three of the 21 players who logged double-digit minutes. Here we are. Meyer, Chamachachua, Flagler, Thamba, Vital, Davion. No, so all of them were Davion, Maceo, and Butler. All of them were not first-year players. None of them were. Today, baseball, huge day in Omaha. Right now, no score. Vanderbilt and NC State are in a playout. This is it. It's an elimination game, even though NC State has not lost.
Really?
Am I right?
No, I think Vanderbilt's got to win twice, just like Texas does.
I think they changed it for TV, that they play, and if it helped me out on Twitter or also on the text line. I thought that it's one and you're done. Because I thought when someone mentioned that to me earlier today, I was like, well, that's not right because both teams would have a loss and the other team had a loss early when they were able to come back through it. So maybe whatever. And no, it does matter. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. NC State, Vanderbilt scoreless in the fourth. Tonight, Texas and Mississippi State had that pitcher's duel earlier. They're going to play the game tonight in Omaha. And Texas, they won the game last night, ended the game against Virginia. Listen, I wasn't up when it happened. At 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, there are, if necessary, games scheduled
Okay, good.
tomorrow.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, that makes more sense. Okay, so if Mississippi State or if NC State win today, right?
Yeah.
Then they're in, and they'll start the best of three next week.
On Monday.
Yeah, on Monday. If, in fact, either lose, they would have an if necessary game. Okay, that's good. Jason Kidd. Not official yet, right, Paul?
No.
What are your thoughts about Jason Kidd as the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks?
I think it's pretty interesting. He does not have a great. He's 183 and 190 as a head coach, but he's with the Nets and the Bucks. And the Bucks, after he left, that's when Giannis started to get great. Not good. Giannis became great after he left. So, I don't want to necessarily judge him on those stops completely because it might be like judging Bill Belichick because of the Browns. Not let a guy grow into it. He's only 48 years old, and he's not been coaching that long. He's been with the Lakers right now, the last two seasons, an assistant coach. There's no telling what he's picked up there in Los Angeles. So I think it's a good move, especially given that if he can establish a rapport with Luka, if players, here's the other thing. Do players who grew up watching Jason Kidd want to come and play for Jason Kidd? Well,
that's the key. Can they lure some big boy free agents to Dallas? If Luka can't, then Luka, Jason, whoever. And now J.J. Barea and Jason Terry are at least on the radar as possibilities of being a part of the organization in some way.
Well, and look, if they bring in Barea and
what's Jason Kidd's career record?
183 and 190.
NBA's hard. I mean, unless you have one of those teams that's stacked with a great player, it's hard to win. But you're not hiring him because of his record. You're hiring him because of his name, and you feel like he can help you. Now, he's not Rick Carlisle.
No, but he went to the second round of the playoffs in the only season he had with the Nets, and then ownership, all that happened, and he left and went to the Bucks the next year. So,
are they trying to catch? I use this term too often. I used to say this with the Rangers. They would sign a 35-year-old that used to be really good as a pitcher or a position player. And the Cowboys have done this before with some players, and a lot of teams do. You're trying to get a player who is a name who used to be good, and they're not who they were.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I think you have to worry about. Are they bringing back Jason Kidd because they love him? Not because he's going to be the best head coach, but do they love him unconditionally because he was part of the championship
don't
team?
You think he and Cuban have to get along?
Yeah, which I think he does.
Okay,
Cuban.
And now the guy from Nike that's coming in, who's going to be a part of the upper administration.
Nico Harris is going to be the GM,
all right,
or the president of basketball operations or whatever. So yeah,
so it's a new it's kind of new blood. The guy from Nike. But Jason Kidd remains to be seen. I think the name looks good and all that, but it remains to be seen.
Well, and Nico Harrison, the basketball operations part for Nico Harrison is that this is a guy who's been recruiting guys to Nike for his entire career. He's a very well-liked person within the NBA. Players love him. He got Luka over from Nike to Jordan Brand, all these things that Nico Harrison did. So Nico Harrison is there for also to combat the problem that they have of getting players to Dallas that they don't draft, or like Tim Hardaway Jr., and no knock on Donnie Nelson for pulling this off, but I think even he was surprised at how that worked out for them in that trade. That accidentally kind of come to them in a trade.
Yeah, so that's happening in the NBA. Also, last night, the Clippers got themselves right back in it. They're really good about digging a hole and then coming back to win the series. They don't play again Game 4 until tomorrow, down 2-0 to Phoenix. And Atlanta and the Bucks play tonight. Game 2, Atlanta won the opening game, and Trae Young scored 48 points in that game. Now, the Canadians.
I watched every second of this game last night.
Beat Vegas to advance to the Stanley Cup final. Now, Craig had this note. There has not been a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup since 1993, I think he said.
And it was them.
And it was Montreal who's won like probably a dozen or 15 of them. They had a regular season record of 24, 21, and 11.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Stars of last year that just got hot at the right time.
They were down 3-1 to Toronto, swept the Jets, and now they take down the team with the best record or the most wins in hockey in Vegas. And so, good for Montreal. I'm going to look up. I'm going to guess the Celtics and the Lakers have like 15 or 17 world titles. I'm going to guess the Canadians are in that neighborhood.
I think because they won so many in the early days of the NHL, they might have the most.
Like 20?
Yeah, they
something
might have
like
20
that.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But I watched
it's been
the game.
A while.
Here's an interesting note on the game. They let 3,500 fans in the building.
I saw this. You texted us.
I texted you that last night. The 3,500 fans in the building. Outside the building, the entire city of Montreal was packed in there. I mean, there were so many French people it smelled like croissants outside, I'm sure. But it was unbelievable how many people were packed in. And I know Canada does not have as many vaccines as we do, so I get their abundance of precaution. But what's the difference of, I know it's outside compared to inside, but if all those people are going to stand right next to each other and watch outside, I think you've lost. Just let them go sit inside. Yeah, you sent that text to Craig and me last night, and you're right. They have 24 Stanley Cup championships, 23 since the founding of the NHL, and they won a couple, but that's since 1927 because they won a bunch even earlier then. Yeah, they're one of the.
When I was younger, they were winning it about every year.
Yeah, the Habs, as they're called.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a really good game. Went to overtime. Vegas, you would think is the better team, but man, Montreal, they just had it going.
You got a hot goaltender.
And tonight you got Game 7 between Tampa and the Islanders. I don't know when the last time the Islanders were in the Stanley Cup final was. They're the other team in New York to the Rangers. So
I remember the Islanders, and they kind of came out of nowhere because the Rangers were always like the team. And the Islanders at one point won like 3 or 4 in a row. They had from 1979 to 1983, I think they won like 4 straight Stanley Cup titles. So it's been a while for them too. But it's Game 7, Tampa Bay and the Islanders tonight. That game is down in Tampa. 254-339-1122, 254-339-1122. Baylor and Stanford men's basketball. Tell you what, even when they weren't quite ready for prime time, even when they at times stubbed their toe with an upset loss in the NCAA tournament, or if they got beat by people who are better than them, their non-conference record or their non-conference schedule, the last 3 to 5 years, not that it wasn't always pretty good, they're taking on all comers. I mean, they don't care. I love it. Why not? That's the way to do it. And you might lose 3 out of 6, but my goodness, does it give you? And then you go into the sledgehammer of the Big 12.
Yeah.
Who next year might even be better. I don't know, Cade Cunningham, Oklahoma State with Boynton is still going to be very good. You know that what Beard's going to be able to do at Texas. I don't know if Texas Tech slips or not. Kansas is reloaded. They've got some transfers they've reloaded. And then obviously others that are very, very good as well, along with, of course, the national champions, defending Big 12 champion Baylor Bears. You know
what a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to Scott Drew, which I think is there are not many people who watch trends and like really log them like Scott Drew does. He really, really looks at trends and looks at how things are going. And, there was a time where Baylor might have one of those guys, like, Stanford or Alabama or Villanova in their schedule. They might do one. Or and then once they started getting into those tournaments, for the committee is take away any reason they would have to say no. Basically, what you need to do, and this is what every program needs to do, is make it come down to your actual wins and losses. Don't make it come down to the who and why. Like, okay, you played everybody good. You played a good schedule. Here's your record in a good schedule. This is where you belong. And this team had a good record, but they only played one team and they lost to them and blah, 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 blah. Just play good teams and it'll work out in the end.
All right, the text line while we open up this show, Grayson at 3:45 will join us. From Scotty B, a tennis player from Baylor. Joseph Chen is at the campus at University of Miami. Looks like he might move on. TJ, how about them Longhorns? Appreciate that, TJ. Yeah, they won at 1 o'clock this morning, and a 6-2, scored 3 in the ninth, 1 in the eighth, 3 in the ninth to beat, I just went blank, to win 6-2 over, who did they beat? Who did Texas? Virginia. To move on to the, now they have to win twice against Mississippi State. Now, I thought I saw a text from the 770 about Lawrence Elkins and Don Truhl. I responded to it.
He's on the line, actually.
Oh, okay, good. All right, we'll do that. And then also Baylor 88 Bear. By the way, Smokey, and I did correct myself and I was wrong. They do have to win twice. Texas will have to win. If they win tonight, we'll have to beat Mississippi State. And if Vanderbilt now up right now, 2-0 on NC State would have to win tonight to force another game tomorrow.
All right, Bob, you're on SicEm365 Radio. Thanks for your call.
Hey, this is Bob Beach.
Hey, Bob. Go ahead with your Lawrence Elkins story.
Well, yeah, I was listening to you guys this morning and didn't know that Lawrence Elkins and Robert Duvall were friends, and that kind of jazzed me. But it brought back a memory from when I was a kid. Small town, and one of the few Baylor fans in town, and it was rare that we got to go see a Baylor play. And my dad took me one day to see the Bears, and we got to go by a sporting goods store before that because I was going to buy a Baylor jersey, to play football, the Sandlot kind of stuff as a kid. And I wanted number 25 because that was Ronnie Bull's number. He was a big running back at the time. But I got there, they were out of number 25. I was really disappointed, really bummed about it. So I decided, I'll get the next closest number I could get, which was number 26. Well, we go to the game that night, and Don Truhl and Lawrence Elkins light it up. I don't remember who they were playing, but I just remember, my gosh, I'm glad I got number 26 because he was like the new star of the Bears. And just remember on the way home, my dad asked, well, you think you can live up to that number? Because it's pretty big shoes to fill. And I just, in high school, I was a receiver, but in the era of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, thanks to Darryl Royal and all that triple option mess. So I didn't quite ever get to do that, but it was just a good memory that was brought up thinking about Lawrence Elkins.
Isn't that kismet? Like, sports is kind of like that. Like, there are great stories like that you have, Bob, where you bought a jersey even though you were disappointed, and then the guy who's wearing the jersey you bought just rips it up. Yeah, I mean, that's a great sports memory.
One of the parts of the interview yesterday that we ran a part of it yesterday, we're going to run another part of it today, right? Armstrong at 4 with Elkins and Truhl about the Heisman Trophy and all that, is that, I love that. And, Lawrence Elkins and Don Truhl, a lot of time we look at what recency bias, whatever it is, you think about the greatest players. Those two guys were rock stars. John McClain said that Lawrence Elkins came by a Little League baseball practice one time and started trying to teach the kids how to throw a curveball. And that's kind of the innocence of back in the day. That doesn't mean that doesn't happen now, but that's a cool story that he ended up with a different number, and he ended up being a superstar. He ended up being an All-American. He's College Football Hall of Famer, and you got the number. That's awesome. Thanks for the call, Bob. Appreciate you jumping in and being a part of the show. 254-339-1122 is the number. I played golf this past weekend at White Bluff at Lake Whitney with Terry and Tom and also with Gary, and I think it might have been Gary or it was Terry. One of the two told me they grew up being massive Ronnie Bull fans. They had Ronnie Bull, I think it might have been Gary. They had Ronnie Bull stuff everywhere. So it's interesting that then a week later or this next week I hear Bob's story about Ronnie Bull and he ended up with Lawrence Elkins. Let's see here. I noticed another offer or two has gone out by the women's basketball program. It's a different way of doing it. It's not just automatic, but I have seen they're moving around. This was a young lady from well out of the state of Texas. I can't remember, northeast coast somewhere. So I had somebody send me a direct message or whatever you want to call it that said, I haven't heard anything about Nikki Collin and the women's basketball program. They're not just sitting on their hands. They're slowly, methodically trying to figure it out and look at various prospects, some who have been on campus, more who will be on campus, and they're working. And, they had to play from behind, and that's part of the deal. And, I still think they'd love to add, she hasn't told me this, I would think they still want to add yet one more player at least to get that number up, if anything, to help with the depth on their roster. But the core is still back. That's very, very good. No question about it. All right, 254-339-1122. Grayson, not this segment, but next. Love to get your feedback. Baylor and Stanford men's basketball. They have Villanova. They have much more. And your thoughts about how they'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime, basically. And I love it. And they're the defending national champions. SicEm365 Radio. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. When Rob Maxey contacted me, Dr. Maxey contacted me about Ideal MRI when we first announced that we were launching this show, he said, we don't want to just be involved. We want to be it. We want to sponsor the whole damn thing. And then he started telling me about what they do. Ideal MRI, and I had endorsed them before. It had been 2 or 3 years ago. And I always remember this, without looking at anything. They're going to save you money. Anytime you can save money and you still get the elite customer service and product, why would you not want to do that? State-of-the-art technology, their MRI machine in the Central Texas marketplace, off 340 and Highway 6, just off 35 in Waco. $497 or less MRI every time. $497 or less every time. Doesn't bounce around above that every time. And they'll help you with insurance to even alleviate that. And on top of that, the average MRI is $1,100. So if you have a very bad pain in your shoulder, which could be a muscle, or maybe a ligament in your knee, or something in your foot, or maybe your back, and it hurts and it's keeping you from functioning, doing anything, I'm telling you right now, you should call IdealMRI.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
The 4th of July sales event is going on at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Jeep Renegade Latitude and values up to $3,750 or 1.9% for 72 months plus $500 bonus cash. And the 2021 Jeep Gladiator Overland with values up to $1,500 or 3.9% for 72 months. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340, online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com.
Come by, let's be friends.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching SicEm365 on YouTube.
All right, here we go. Golly, we ever taped what is said during the commercial breaks, the podcast would explode. Like Colt and Brian and Ashley go, the hell with the show, just put up whatever's said in the commercial break. Not as bad. It's just kind of off the wall and random. Off the wall and random. All right, Grayson joins us on the big official visit weekend coming up. Back to the calls and text messages, 254-339-1122.
Well, half of the time of commercial breaks is just me asking for food, by the way. Yeah, so I mean, we mentioned Tony in 310, and then I forget about Armstrong as he hates fish. My body hates fish because
fish hate him. Yeah.
So then that became a part of the discussion for later on. Is that it's weird? Our bodies are all different, and some can eat seafood. Some shellfish will make people break out in hives. Yeah. Some people can't have certain kind of milk. Craig mentioned that a couple of days ago.
Yeah. I'm curious if Armstrong is allergic to anything that swims. Because sometimes people are allergic to shellfish, but not, fish, And so, like, if it's an alligator or a frog, I'm thinking about things like, what else swims that we eat?
Let's go to him. Let's go to a call. And because that, like I said, why would you not want deep fried electric eel? Something like that. That sounds entertaining and delicious to me. Paul?
Okay. All right, Jason in Fort Worth, thanks for holding. You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Gentlemen, I don't know how I can even follow that. I mean, I was just thinking about going downtown to Nepa's and having something this evening, something nice. But fried eel, I don't know. But good to talk to you guys. Hadn't chatted with you in a while, but lots of great things happening, I guess, down in Waco. And super excited as a Baylor alum and fan about what's happening with recruiting right now. It's just incredible. First of all, the access you guys give us to the recruits and what's happening in real time. But it just seems like, from all the interviews you guys have done with Coach Stuckey, Mateos, Grimes, Dave Aranda, just what's happened with the basketball, just the brand of Baylor. We're just in such a good place right now, it feels like. And I can't even imagine, what they're doing to roll out the red carpet. Would love to hear more about it. And I just wonder, the question for me becomes, we get these commitments, right? And the big challenge is to keep them. And I know that Coach Aranda and his staff are great at building relationships. The one thing that concerns me, and I haven't heard much about it recently, and this is my question is, have we heard anything from the NCAA? Could that possibly derail some of these commitments? And I just don't want the train to stop, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah. What have you guys heard? And are we close to a timeline? I know you said by the end of June, but I was wondering from you, Coach Smoak.
Yeah, and Jason, great to hear. What was the name of that course you said, if this is the right Jason, you took your father to a golf course. What's the name of the one that was renovated?
Oh, it's Rockwood Golf Course. It's a public course here in Fort Worth. They renovated a few years ago, and man, it's absolutely gorgeous with all the rains and things like that. And beautiful course if you're ever in downtown. You need to come down. We'll get a tee time.
That sounds great, and I appreciate, Jason, your support of what we do. And you're right. They're on a nice line. The NCAA thing is crazy. It's nuts. It's taken way too long. It's been 5 years, and yet it appeared, not because of some report that didn't have enough credence, that was done a month ago. A month ago. Even Mack Rhoades said they really expected something by the early part of the summer. Well, now we're almost a month into the summer. It has to come out at some point. And if it doesn't come out, is that because the NCAA goes, well, we're not going to be able to really do much about it, and so we're just kind of slow play it, or is it because there's a legitimate reason? Has Baylor, we would know if they had appealed it because they would have to release it to appeal it.
Well, they have to know what they need to appeal.
Yeah, that's
they
exactly
don't
right.
know what they have to appeal yet.
Let me tell you, Baylor is frustrated about this too, even if it might end up being giving up a Big 12 championship or two, if it might be something that's a little heavier than you think. They want it done. They want to be able to move past it, Jason. It's a great point because that is still out there.
Yeah. Think about this, and I know it's 5 years, but 3 different people have been in the Oval Office since the investigation started. I mean, so Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden have all been in the Oval Office.
And 10,000 people have been in the Capitol.
Exactly, yeah. So there's all these different things that have happened since that started. And you think about and I think I did a top 5 about this, or I just went on a rant about all the different things that have happened. I mean, 5 years, okay? This is an investigation that I understand would take longer than others. Like I said yesterday if the FBI's investigated for you, pretty much just take what the FBI found to be proven fact and did in court and go, well, this looks like about, 2 years probation and, a bowl game or whatever. This is something you had to look into, but also what I think that they found when they started looking into this, that outside of anything that the Briles coaching staff would have done that's actually a violation of NCAA rules, all this other stuff is kind of noise.
No matter what. No matter if people want it to be more than noise, it is noise.
And I say noise in relation to what they can actually investigate and prosecute. The NCAA, and this is what happened with Penn State, and what happened at Penn State was ridiculously tragic, but the NCAA had no jurisdiction over that. None, because they're not a criminal court. So there's no law, because at no point at the NCAA would you ever think you would have to investigate this, because it's not your job to do that. It's your job to investigate violations and extra benefits. So if you start looking into Baylor and NCAA violations, well, technically anything that goes on that's against the law isn't an NCAA violation that they prosecute, because most of the time the cops do that, the courts do that. So anything that happened outside of that is to the courts. Now, if there's something that happened in relation to something that illegal that went on, and then a coach covered it up and on and on and on, yes, then that is an NCAA violation. But once you get out of that circle, like, what did the Briles coaching staff do or not do that is under the bylaws of the NCAA to penalize? That's at the essence of the issue. And I think that maybe you get sidetracked because the other things, even though you have no expertise or jurisdiction to find anything else about
was there gas money? Is there a smoking gun other than the obvious of what is the overall umbrella of the cloud of depression? Was offering legal help and or leaning someone into legal help, was that a violation? Is that extra benefits? I don't know. I don't know that. But I don't know, other than they've already basically had their one class totally destroyed, recruiting class, like vultures, Texas and TCU and Oklahoma State, among others. Was there handouts? Were there cars? I don't know any of that. I don't think there might have been. Maybe somebody gave somebody $20 for get back home. And that's surely not going to lead. But here's the problem, because it's so high level, so high publicity, that the NCAA almost has to find something and then overblow whatever they do to Baylor because they feel like they're pressured to do that.
Well, and the other thing that might have also happened is that the NCAA right now is taking loss after loss after loss. NIL is a loss. Supreme Court decision, loss. They're losing. So it might be one of those things that their PR department, because I am pretty much sure that their investigation is done, but the PR department might go, okay, so 5 years ago when we arrived on the scene pretending like we were Batman or something and that we were going to get to the bottom of this and foil all the criminals, and 5 years later we've got something, but it's, it's not much. Are we going to be able to go out there and be like, listen, we finally got to the root of the problem at Baylor, and here's what we found right here. And then they put down a page with one paragraph, and people are like, well, does that seem, I mean, is it worth it? And then if you are people like us in the media and you ask them, okay, so your punishment is this. And 5 years ago when this happened, the whole recruiting class left. The whole coaching staff was gone within a year.
1-11 and a 2-7. Yeah. 1-11 because of the backlash.
2-7 also you could make a case that
you could.
But 1-11 because of the backlash. New coaching staff, new AD, head coach, AD, president, all gone within 3 weeks of the first report. And I think the AD only because they had to wait a week to fire, to do the coach, and then the president. All that happened so rapidly. So who is left to punish in this? As a matter of fact, if you go down the list of people who were working at Baylor who had been directly involved in that are still there, you're getting into the facilities at this point. So there's no one that's still there. The athletic department has turned over. People have gone to other jobs. People have come in. Some people have come and gone in that time. So who are you going to punish other than you're punishing the logo?
Yeah, and
that's all you're doing.
Yeah, and Mack Rhoades has said 2 or 3 times on the show. We didn't ask him about it Tuesday of this week. We're going to replay the interview in the 5 o'clock hour. We hadn't had him on in a month. And there was 1 week when I remember I was told he's not available, and it was because of some other things he's not dealing with like negative, but other things he's doing, and might have also been because he was like getting away. And I was told, hey, if something does happen, if something does pop with the NCAA, he'll be available that day or that next day or whenever. And here we are, it's a month later. When we come back, Grayson Grundhoefer on a huge weekend for Baylor, official weekend, again, official visits. I was asked if I did know about Bill Moose leaving Nebraska. The AD, Trev Albert's name has popped up. He's a part of the administration now, former Nebraska All-American defensive end. His job was to come in and settle the water, calm the waters. I don't know if he's done that or not, but unless the football team starts winning, it doesn't matter who the AD is. That's it. And I don't know if they'll ever win again at a consistent level. I don't know. But, yeah, he's moving on. And he said he's moving on because he feels like things are at least settled, or whatever the word, in a pretty good place. Now, go win some damn games. SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine. It's the weekend, folks. And, look, if you're going to get out and get some frosty beverages, why don't you stop by Riverbend Liquor and Wine? I actually stopped by there on the way home because I was making tacos. My mom came over, and I thought, I'm going to go get some margarita mix. Walked right in the door, grabbed it, done. It was quick and easy. Customer service is out of this world. Had a couple things in my hand. They came by and offered to help me. It was just everything about that is a pleasant customer service experience, which I will talk about until I'm blue in the face. But look, they've got a great selection of craft beers. Great selection. They still have some of the single barrel Balcones that you can only get there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. That cask, that barrel that was there only at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. So that's the only time you'll be able to taste that whiskey. If you're a whiskey aficionado like I am, you need to try it. Great spirits, great selection of wine, a drive-through window, unbelievable customer service, like I said. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street here in Waco. A hidden gem. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 for all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhoefer of SicEm365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Well, the Baylor staff and Jason from the Dallas and Fort Worth area called up about how thrilled he is. And a lot of you, I had that poll up, a couple of days ago, 82% or 88% of you said that the surge has given you even more lift when it comes to the staff and Dave Aranda, et cetera. Well, someone is right there in the middle of it. Right smack in the middle of it. Grayson Grundhoefer, Bryant Etheridge a part of it as well. Grayson, our recruiting coordinator and analyst, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. All right, so a huge weekend. They got a nice surge last week and into early part of this week, Grayson. Do they expect that again this weekend?
I don't know if they do, but I do.
Okay.
And I believe they do as well. I think that right now you're seeing kind of everything that they built throughout the spring. The fact of the matter is they weren't able to get guys on campus. They just had to build these relationships, and man, did they do a good job of it. And I think we saw it last weekend, their ability to connect with these recruits. And then once they got them on campus, it was one of those things where it was more solidifying Baylor than it was having to convince kids of Baylor, if that makes sense. Yep. They built such a good base that, you have guys like Trey Emery, who his first day on campus on Friday showed up and was like, oh, I'm shutting it down immediately. Barely even did anything on campus and knew that it was the place for him. Obviously saw it with Jordan Neighbors, and then, of course, the huge out-of-state one with Maye. That was a huge one for them to land after the weekend as well. So they're on great trajectory right now, and yes, I do expect that to continue this week. And I wrote an article this morning, but I truly think there are a bunch of guys on this visit who will probably end up being Bears before too long.
Grayson, how much does it help that, take coronavirus out of it. Last year, when you hired Larry Fedora on offense, he had been an analyst for a year, and those guys don't go, or they're not allowed to, go recruit. They're analysts, and that's what they do. Eric Mateos and Jeff Grimes already had, at least with this class and these couple classes, roots in the ground. So when they came here, all they had to do was call and say, hey, I'm not at BYU anymore.
Yeah, just being honest, they would have had zero shot at getting George Maye if, Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos weren't at Baylor. So, that's a part of it. I also think you're right. They've built they've dug their roots in the ground. They recruit that Utah area really well, the West Coast a little bit, just based on their connections that they had prior to Baylor. But I think the biggest part of it really that they're selling offensively is what they did at BYU a year ago. And it was really successful, and a lot of recruits are loving that. You're seeing 3 tight end commits in this class because Jeff Grimes is the tight ends coach and the offense coordinator, and that's very appealing to these recruits. And as far as Eric Mateos goes, guys, who would have thought that we would be sitting here and Baylor would have 5 commits on the offensive line already? I didn't think that. They've already got 5 of them, and it looks like they're probably going to take at least 2 more. They might take 7 offensive linemen in this class, which is, I think, very telling to what they need on the roster, but also very telling to how much these recruits believe in Eric Mateos, that these guys are fine with being in a class with so many offensive linemen in it.
Yeah, and Maye was fantastic when we had him on. He's not a real overly talkative guy, but he was really good. And I was told by somebody that, with all due respect to all the others, because they're all recruiting well. We know Joey McGuire with Sean Bell. We know Chancey Stuckey and others on staff. I'm just mentioning some of them. But I was told that Mateos is a methodical grinder when it comes to recruiting. Is that kind of what you see paying off?
Oh, he is. He 100% is. Guys, listen, I have to get creative with how I figure out, who the top targets are, and also just kind of who are guys Baylor might be interested in. And I can tell you just from researching, studying, just trying to figure out how these guys are trying to recruit, you can just tell Eric Mateos is going out and recruiting, honestly, anyone that's worth an offer. He's not afraid to go to, like I said, to California, to Utah, to Colorado, to Arizona. Not afraid at all to go recruit wherever he needs to find guys on the offensive line. So, yeah, I think methodical grinder is honestly, I couldn't describe him any better than that. But also, guys, he has that part of it, but then he also has the great relationship building side of it. And that's key. That is so key on the offensive line. And going out to these camps and getting to see him coach these young prospects, they really enjoy the way he coaches as well. And I think that's going to pay huge dividends down the line. And honestly, guys, I've been so impressed with him. I think at some point he might have a real shot at being an offense coordinator or maybe even a head coach one day if that's something he chooses to do.
Grayson, they have 5 offensive linemen in the class, like you said. Do you expect them to get maybe 1 or 2 more?
Yeah, I do. They're for sure. They are 150% taking 1 more. And I would say it's close to 90% they take 2 more. And the reason for that is if you look at the guys they have committed, they have quite a few guards and centers, interior offensive linemen. They really need to address the tackle position. And one of the guys on the official visit this weekend, starting today, is Alvin Ebosele out of Capel, a big 6'6", 310-pound offensive lineman. And the big thing about him is he's really the only true left tackle Baylor has been recruiting in this 2022 cycle. So they really need to find a way to land him. If they do, that would give them 6. And then I could see them potentially taking a best available type and getting to 7 offensive linemen in this class. But, yeah, the big one to watch this weekend is Alvin Ebasele. He's been very high on their list for a long time. I would probably say probably up there in the top 10 as far as their overall big board. I think he's been in the top 10 for a long time now.
All right, so I know that it's the premium part of the section, but you guys have Predicting Weekend, the staff, Grayson, Colt, Brian, and you guys are all over this. I just compared. I just had a comment about what Mateos is, what I was told, a methodical grinder. But Grayson, Brian, and Colt, when it comes to recruiting, after especially the year of COVID, are like animals, caged animals, and people have thrown raw meat just outside their cage to let them loose, and you haven't eaten for 3 days. That's kind of where you guys are with your coverage. It's been amazing, and I don't know what the analogy I just said, but it sounded good to me. Now,
well, I'm hungry. I'm hungry, Smokey, now.
Well, you could come in here. We got some stuff from 310, by the way, that sometimes goes to our tailgates. Grayson, if you could predict 1 or 2 names at the end of the weekend or by Monday morning that might pop, who would they be if you could tell me?
Ooh, I'm gonna give you one name from the weekend, and then I'm gonna give you another name that won't happen directly after this weekend, but he has a commitment date set.
Okay.
And I feel good about Baylor's chances. So the first one, and guys, this has been one of the most crazy recruitments I've seen in a long time, but Jalen Peoples out of Cedar Hill, I think this is the weekend that he decides to commit to the Bears. He has been high on Baylor's list for a long time. Joey McGuire's known him forever. I mean, literally forever. They've built such a great relationship. I know Jalen loves Baylor. It just feels like it's going to happen. I know there was a lot of smoke about Kansas for a little bit, Iowa in there, Texas Tech. We visited last weekend, but I really think this is the weekend where Baylor finally lands Jalen Peoples. He's a high 3-star prospect out of Cedar Hill, a cornerback. So I'm going to go with him from the weekend. And then a little bit down the road, literally less than a week down the road, or I guess right on a week, July 2nd, Ennis Sledge, a defensive lineman out of Neville. He's a guy who camped at Baylor the first camp of the year, got the Baylor offer, loves Baylor, has glowing things to say about Baylor, immediately got himself scheduled for an official visit. He's called Baylor his dream school multiple times. A guy who's really blown up on the recruiting trail big time. Took visits to Purdue and Indiana. But I think at the end of the day, I think Baylor's going to land him. He'll solidify them at the nose tackle position going forward. He's about 6'3", 6'4", 310 pounds, and is a perfect fit for Dave Aranda and Ron Roberts' team, and of course with Dennis Johnson. So he's my other one on July 2nd. I'm not going to give any other ones away, but I can tell you, like I said, I feel very good about this weekend. It would not shock me if there's 2 or 3 again from this weekend, just like last weekend.
All right, so I have to ask you this, and I know that Jalen Peoples has been out there on the radar or whatever, but I get the feeling that some Baylor fans, has that been a hide and seek with him? Has there been a little bit of that going on? Because some fans were like, okay, we'll believe it when we see it. I'm not trying to say he hasn't done things right, but what's been going on with that?
Yeah, so, we're talking, I think he's had 5 different commitment dates set and has changed all of them. So that's been a part of it. Released a top 5 that was kind of a weird top 5. I know Iowa, Baylor, Texas Tech were inside that top 5. It was just kind of a weird group that you didn't really expect. Went on the Kansas visit and all of a sudden got all these crystal balls and a ton of momentum that he was going to go to Kansas. And decided he was going to make a commitment decision. He canceled that one. That was the fifth time he had changed it. And now, of course, he went on the Texas Tech official visit last weekend. I think Tech people feel good about him going there after the weekend. And now Baylor gets this official visit, which I believe will be his last one, at least because the dead period's coming up. So, again, I just have this gut feeling, and I've had this feeling the whole time. I really think he's going to end up being a Bear. I think there's too many, it's just too deep of roots for him not to. And I just think the relationships, where Baylor is, I just really think eventually he's going to end up being a Bear. But it has been a very weird recruitment for sure.
With Jared Kerr picking A&M, how much of a blow is that?
Huge. I don't want to sugarcoat it too much. He was one of probably, I would say, one of the top 3 guys Baylor wanted to land in this class. And it's honestly more than just talent. From a cultural perspective, he was such a good fit for the Bears. Small town kid. His head coach, of course, was a Baylor grad at Lexington. So it just felt like everything was lining up. But I'll say this, A&M has a lot of momentum right now. They're currently the top recruiting school in the state of Texas as far as kids from Texas want to go to A&M right now. They're winning, and they're very, very good. So for Baylor to get an official visit with him last weekend was massive. For him to wait after going on his official visit to A&M where all signs were pointing to him committing, he decided to wait and go take the Baylor visit. He canceled all of his other visits and only went to A&M and Baylor. Ultimately he made the decision that was right for him. And like we've talked about, it's going to be very tough for Baylor to win head-to-head battles with A&M when you only have 2 wins to your name. And that's just, you're fighting an uphill battle a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, Baylor's been able to overcome that, but eventually you run into a recruit that is just too high profile that, sometimes it's hard to land them. Now, in the future, it's going to be okay. Like, it really is. They're going to be able to land guys like this. Maybe they'll be able to land 1 or 2 in this class. But with Jared Kerr, it just didn't quite work out, and that's okay. They'll move on to their next target. I feel good with the guys they have on campus. Obviously, Jalen Petrie will be gone, but Devin Lemire and Lorando Johnson really proved themselves this spring. So I feel okay about the position. They'll be able to find some guys in the class to come in and maybe play the star position. And I'm expecting 2023 for them to land a big-time stud at the star position, possibly a 4-star type guy after they come off a really good season this year.
All right, Paul. Hey, Grayson, that's why you are with us on Fridays and sometimes other times during the week. You and Craig with the Bearcast on Tuesdays that's filled with everything. Appreciate what you do. I know you guys have been just busted it, no question, in another weekend. Brian, Jack, and Grayson with another official visit weekend. Thanks for your time, Grayson Grundhoefer on SicEm365 Radio. Sometimes when you go to the premium section, if you're not a premium member, we always suggest that, it's money. It costs money. But I'm telling you, if you are wanting to know inside and out what's going on, and not just with the football recruiting, but a lot of different notes that we pop up and stuff, there are things that are nuggets from Ashley Hodge about men's basketball, Brian Etheridge, and sometimes even me when it comes to women's basketball. But there are times the pin section, as it rotates throughout the week, might have 6 or 8 things from Grayson on recruiting. And, and right now they have another official visit weekend starting up. All right, Paul, when we come back, True and Elkins, 2 legends of Baylor football. Yesterday we had a sneak peek of an hour and Armstrong 23-minute interview with those 2 in studio. When we come back, we'll do it again, but not that same segment. Slowly but surely, and eventually the mother load will be available on SicEm365.com, and we'll tell you how, and eventually on this show as well. But I asked Don Truhl about 1963 and the Heisman Trophy. He finished 4th in the voting. Roger Staubach won the Heisman. We get into that. I asked him about the ceremony, the banquet. Don Truhl, Lawrence Elkins, 2 of the greatest players to ever play Baylor football, as we slowly release parts of an hour and a half with them. In the next segment, we do it again on SicEm365 Radio.
Travel is back. Hit the road with big savings during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. The road is waiting. Explore America again in the space, safety, and luxury of a Buick SUV. And during the Richard Carr summer savings event, current Buick or GMC owners get 16% off a new 2021 Buick Encore, 13% on Encore GX, 9% on midsize Buick Envision, or 13% on a full-size Buick Enclave. Summer travel is back at the summer savings event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Looking to the end zone. Got a big touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
We brought up the 1963 season and that game with Texas, and obviously the end of the game was wow. It was so close, and yet it didn't end well. How much did he take that loss on his own shoulders?
I thought he blamed it on me. No,
is this when the applause sign's supposed to get?
Yes, that was. No, I felt badly. Of course, I felt pretty hurt too. Don was having his mouth and lips sewed up at halftime, where one of their players hit him with an elbow after the whistle blew, and he was on top of a pile.
Tommy Ford.
Yep, Tommy Ford. And I
got the name and license number.
Yeah. And
that's now on record.
And I had 2% xylocaine stuck in both ankles because they were hurting so bad I couldn't run. So I had assisted running in the second half, and you don't broadcast that back in those days, but when it wore off, I was in trouble.
Well, we actually had two plays. I talked about the one at the end of the game, Elkins, where he down and out, and here come Carlisle. But it was the first or second series. We would always, one thing about Coach Bridgers, he wasn't afraid to take chances. And we would always put a play in or two for a particular team every week. We'd do it, an unusual play. Against LSU, we did what we called the alumni pass. Bridgers was funny. He'd say, "We're going to call this an alumni pass. This is just for the alumni." And it was a double reverse pitch back. And we had a guy slow play and then go deep, but then Lawrence would pitch it back to me, and then he would continue on down the sidelines. Well, we had that for LSU, and we did it, and the wide receiver was covered, but they forgot about Lawrence going around the left. And that was the first time I ever threw it to Lawrence after he had pitched me the ball going, you remember that,
Yeah,
going to the left.
I slid under Charlie Mack, knocked his feet out from under
the bench over
Charlie McClendon.
Oh, yeah. But then in the Texas game, I think it was the first series, maybe the second series, right in front of their bench. It was our bench on the right side. And it was kind of a wet day, and all, but
windy, cold.
We ran Lawrence on like out and up, and he's wide open. And I didn't want to overthrow him, but I'd like to hit him in stride, and ended up hanging up there, and I only caught it, and they kind of got him, from behind. He gained, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 yards. But if I'd had it out there, he would have scored because they weren't going to catch him. But anyway, there's plays like that you remember and stick in your mind.
How often do you guys talk?
Not very.
Yeah. But it's like you are connected forever.
Yeah, we are. But compared to him, I have a limited vocabulary, so it's hard to talk to him.
We talk, I don't know, maybe every 2 or 3
weeks. But you see each other at functions and some things like that. And then last year, of course, was hard. He said he was a prankster and that you were the serious one.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you remember anything he may have done as a prankster or?
When we were rookies, I think, wasn't it you pulled the deal on Charlie Frazier? When we were at Kerrville?
No, I didn't.
Snake, did you do the snake deal?
I did the snake deal, but that was I thought it was you and Bethard.
No.
Well, who did I put that rattlesnake between whose beds that night?
It wasn't ours. That's our training camp. He got a snake.
Well, I got a lot of mileage out of that when Wally Lim, our coach, said, if I ever catch who put that rattlesnake in the quarterback's room, they'll never play another down in the NFL. I almost didn't. And
was
why I did that, I don't know.
Was it live?
It was when I opened the trunk. I made me a snake catcher, and I'd looked all training camp.
You put a rattlesnake in the trunk of your car?
And then it got loose. And when I lifted the trunk up, we were at Crider's open air dance land. Willie Nelson's playing that night. Everybody said, come here, I want to show you something. And I didn't realize that snake had gotten loose from that noose. I lifted that up, and it like that, and it took 2 days to round the Oilers up. Boy, they were jumping fences, and I wasn't through that snake. Of course, I did $500 worth of damage to the trunk of my car trying to kill that snake with a tire tube. With him striking at me, that's how nutty I was.
Yeah, that I think that would have ended my friendship with you right there.
And then I rolled him up between those beds, and he was still.
And it was dead at that time, right? Or was it?
It was still writhing.
Oh yeah, isn't it weird how that?
Lawrence had the reputation of he spent more time, as he mentioned earlier, in the Baylor Student Union than going to class.
Really?
And it wasn't because he was thirsty. It was because of the ladies that were in there.
Never caught one of them, never got a date.
No one ever finally just said, I'll go out with you? Or
I finally realized looking in the mirror I was rather homely looking. But anyway.
What was the bowl game? Oh, no, it was not a bowl game. Baylor-Syracuse, this was your senior year, I think. And Floyd Little, Larry Zonka were on Syracuse.
That was the year after I left.
Oh, the year after you left.
Yes,
okay. So neither one of you were there.
No.
Okay. The Milton Berle was like being driven around the track in a convertible. I didn't know if that was your last year or not.
No,
that was Syracuse.
My first year at the Oilers, but they worked them over.
I want you to look at him for a second. I know that.
That's hard to do.
What is when you think of Don Truhl, Lawrence Elkins, what do you think of?
I just think my old friend Gator.
Why did you get that nickname?
Because I had 2 teeth missing. I had a partial bridge, and of course I took the bridge out when I played. But what's crazy, in high school, I played baseball and had it when I was my older brother, when I was about, 12 years old. This is for modern techniques of implants and everything else. These little gliders, balsa wood planes you'd throw, and they'd do loop-the-loops, and he threw one at me, and I had a baseball bat in my hand, and I ducked and hit my teeth and broke one off, and it killed the root and all, so it had to be pulled, and so then I got a partial plate. But my baseball coach, who was the father of one of my teammates, growing up in Little League, we went and won the state championship in Little League baseball, and he gave me the name of Gator because he said, well, you smile and you look like an alligator. I had that gap right in the front. And ironically, I got to Baylor. I didn't tell anybody or anything. And Ronnie Stanley was 2 years ahead of me, and he and Herbie Atkins lived on my floor at the end of the hall in Martin Hall. And we were practicing one day or something, and Stanley said, damn, you look just like a Gator, Truhl.
And that's where it all started.
That's where it all started.
So, when you think of him?
Well, I think he's pretty neat. Wish I was smart as he was, but I never have been. Anyway, we've been good friends, but if it wasn't for him, wouldn't have done near as much at Baylor.
Can you imagine your football career or life if he had Oklahoma City to anywhere else?
Yeah.
I mean, you still would have been a good player. No matter where you would have gone, he would have still been a great player as well. Both of you would have been great. But just how things happen. Some kid from Southeast High School, is that what you said? And here you are from Brownwood.
Brownwood, and including the Bluebonnet Bowl, catch 77 passes in one season.
I said 70. I couldn't remember.
Well, I caught 7, but they don't count.
They didn't count the bowl games.
Didn't count it.
Yeah.
So I could still say 77.
Now, speaking of my high school, small school on the south side of Oklahoma City. I don't know if you're familiar with Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah.
The Canadian River runs through it, and there's the north side with Northwest Classen and Nichols Hills, which is the more affluent side of town.
Right.
My dad was a cab driver, and we lived on the south side of town. And, of course, the south side always thought we were a lot tougher, and we were, than the kids on the north side and everything. But from our school, our first All-American and Hall of Famer was a guy by the name of Clinton Thomas, Oklahoma, shared halfback opposite Tommy McDonald. And then a kid that was our ball boy, he was a freshman. His brother played football but wasn't very good. Was a little kid by the name of Bobby Mercer, if you remember him.
The baseball player with the Yankees.
Great. He was a high school halfback and a linebacker, scored 54 touchdowns in high school.
Well, Mickey Mantle was a Oklahoman too, right?
Commerce,
I mean, that's state,
Commerce.
yeah.
But Bobby had a football scholarship.
Remember
to
Bobby
OU.
Mercer?
Bobby Mercer had a football scholarship to OU.
Wow.
As a halfback. But he signed with the Yankees, and the rest is history.
I remember that. Bobby Mercer, he was like the next, of course, they tag people. Well, the next so-and-so, the next so-and-so, the next Mantle or whatever, which is always unfair as well. What does Lawrence Elkins mean to Don Truhl? Can you imagine where you would be, what your life would be like, no matter what?
Well, if I hadn't, I'm glad I went to Baylor, first of all. I almost went to Oklahoma State, but came down to scholarship day, and Cliff Spiegel was the head coach at Oklahoma State at that time. His nephew was a guy by the name of C.B. Spiegel III, and C.B. and I lived a block apart.
That's okay.
And C.B. was a great high school quarterback at his dad's school, Capitol Hill High School in Oklahoma City. And he was a year behind me. And they recruited me, but then Cliff called me in and says, Don, we'd like to have you and all, but, I got my nephew coming next year, and he's a quarterback, and we're not going to be able to offer you a scholarship. And so I went to Baylor. To be honest, I probably would have gone to Oklahoma State.
Had you heard much about Baylor?
Not a thing. Only Baylor I knew about was a watch and the guy that played basketball, Elgin
Baylor, the great, one of the greatest players, and sometimes this name's not brought up enough for how good he was.
My brother was in the seminary, older brother at Fort Worth, and one of his real good friends was a cheerleader at Baylor when he was in undergraduate school. And so through hook and crook, my mom would send my brother clippings from the Oklahoma City paper, and then he would give them to, I can't even remember the guy's name, and his parents lived next door to Cotton Davidson.
Oh.
So they would get him to Cotton.
There you go.
So basically Cotton recruited me and called me and came up to the all-state game and everything.
You know, because a lot of times people forget this, and even when I'm old enough now, and I say that a lot, but where the internet is now just something people are born into. I mean, immediate conversations, cell phones, text, social media, whatever. So, you know, you see in the newspaper Saudi Arabia, and you go, I'm sure, letters back and forth that could take days, but how it happened, how some kid from Southeast High School in Oklahoma ends up at Baylor, and you end up from Brownwood, and here's Texas and here's Darrell Royal as he's about to start his great run. That's pretty darn cool. And the two of you have been incredible for Baylor, and Baylor's been great for both of you as well. Baylor football, it's like we've mentioned before, it's had its ups and downs or whatever. What does it mean, and I know both of you might shy away from this, but what does it mean that when they talk about the greatest names in Baylor football that you are included?
Feel honored. Sometimes feel like, golly, those people are a lot better than I ever thought about being. And that's how I feel, you know, when I see them nowadays, how fast they are. And then I think, well, wait a minute, they didn't play both ways, did they? But anyway, throw that.
Not only that, you return kicks and punts. Yeah.
And kicked off.
Kicked off.
And kicked off as well.
But times have changed. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Of course, I'd be upset if I wasn't included. You know, I mean, that's just your own personal pride.
I feel the same way. I was trying to be a little numb over there. But,
when we're up there in the stands watching the game and you see a receiver running, all you always say, that guy doesn't know how to cut. He's just rounding off his corners and everything, which is right.
Like a banana.
But we're kind of when I say critical, it's critical. We're assessing what they're doing wrong.
You can see it in a way that a lot of people may think they can, but you can't. You played the game. You played it at an elite level. You're in the Hall of Fame. You're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
We will hear from Baylor men's basketball assistant coach Bill Peterson here momentarily. Earlier in the week, and another reason why you should be on SicEm365.com or listen to this show or the premium section. Ashley Hodge had put this up. Bill Peterson leading a team in July that will go to North Macedonia for 10 days where they'll play against professional teams including Zach Loveday, LJ Cryer, and then he eventually wasn't sure about Dale Bonner, remember one of the incoming transfers, and eventually came back and said that he did hear that Bonner was also going. And Ty Beard will also help coach the team with Bill Peterson, part of the Scott Drew staff. It's just another way to go. Branch out, go play against good people, pros and stuff. So we'll have Bill Peterson. He's going to call us here momentarily. A few of you have responded to our segments with Lawrence Elkins and also, with Don Truhl. Let me see here. This is from, Brown BW. We'll be glad to hear Truhl to Elkins one more time. I'm 72. They are one of the reasons I fell in love with Baylor. And they are a reason, and I'm hoping you're enjoying these segments, and we're going to do more of these. We've done Grant Taft, and now Elkins and Truhl will have more of it on Monday, and then eventually the full meal deal will have that as well. In fact, as well on the direct message, Girl Friday 85, Paula, love the story about them being in Kerrville. I lived there for a time in the early 1980s, and at Critters and Hunt was and still is the most fun and Texas place ever. Also, D. Carter, heard him mention Cotton Davidson, that my uncle played high school football with Cotton Davidson at Gatesville, went on to make All-American at Georgia. Dan Edwards played in the NFL for 10 years. So a lot of you responding to Lawrence Elkins and Don Truhl as a part of SicEm365 Radio. We're now joined by Bill Peterson, Baylor men's basketball assistant coach of Scott Drew's staff, going athletes in action, something I remember back when I was a kid. Not that I ever played in it, but I remember it dates back a long, long time. Peterson joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Bill, thank you very much for your time. How does all this kind of come about, and how important is it just to go branch out and go play? Because I know the men's basketball team at times together has gone overseas. In this particular case, this is Athletes in Action.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on to visit with you about Athletes in Action. Scott Drew has been involved for years with Athletes in Action and having guys take teams overseas and play on those teams. I know a lot of his former players here before I got here. I know Tweety Carter went on a trip, and John Motley went on a trip, and Quincy Acey. So a lot of good players got to go overseas. This year, myself, I'm coaching the team with Coach Ty Beard, our head of video. Our video department here is also going to coach with me and coach some of the games. And we're taking three of our guys, Zach Loveday, LJ Cryer, and Dale Bonner, a transfer from Fairmont State. So it's a great opportunity for them not only to travel, but to grow spiritually and then to play some really good competition in the summer.
For those guys in particular who, Loveday and obviously Cryer got a little bit of time, Cryer a little bit more, but got a little bit of time. How much is it just kind of like minor league baseball where you want a guy who you know is going to be good just to go and pitch some innings?
Very, very much so. Great point. It's a really, really big thing for LJ Cryer and Zach Loveday, seeing that, LJ got a little more time than Zach did, but for them to be able to go over to a different country and practice, have training camp for 3 days, and then play 5 games against different countries and different competition, and for them to play a lot of minutes and get a lot of reps is really good. It puts them in a precious situation in the summer to where obviously you don't want to make mistakes, but there's nothing wrong with making mistakes and helping them step. They can play through it. It's not a situation where as soon as they make a mistake, we're going to take them out of the game and set them on the bench. It's an issue where they can learn and play and grow against really high-level competition.
Bill, you have been a part of this staff now for about a half a decade. You have seen where they were, and even then at a high level, and now where they are. Can you try to put into words, other than the obvious of winning the national championship and doing it the way you did as a team, as a program, as a staff, as players, what it means now to people wanting to play at Baylor?
Well, I think one of the things is that, Scott, a couple of years ago, that one of the philosophies we maybe changed or tweaked a little bit in our recruiting was really look for kids that wanted to be in the gym. We have a term called gym rats, guys that would come in on their own and work on their own and get a manager to rebound for them at all hours of the night, not just come to practice, and kids that would voluntarily get in there. And obviously with the kids that we had, they're all leaving now, the Davion Mitchells, the Maceo Teagues, the Mark Vitals, the Jared Butlers, those guys set a tone when they got here of how hard they worked. Maceo Teague and Davion Mitchell were here at all hours, early in the morning at 6 a.m., 11 o'clock at night with the manager rebounding for them, doing things like that. And we've seen a change in that. We have kids in the gym all the time. Kids will come in at 4 in the afternoon. They'll have workouts at 11. They'll get done workouts. They'll go take a nap, and then they'll be back in here at night. And just their overall work ethic, and that they're doing it together. They're doing it as a group. They're not doing it as individuals. We always say when you come to the gym, bring somebody with you. Don't come by yourself. Bring somebody with you. So we have this new kid here, James Akinjo, who's a great kid, a transfer from Arizona, was a first-team All-Pac-12 player. Well, him and L.J. Cryer come to the gym all the time together. I was walking the other day around the concourse, and I looked in the arena, and it's like noon. They had a workout at 8 in the morning, and there's L.J. Cryer and James Akinjo in the gym working out with a manager, doing drills and shooting jump shots. And, just that attitude that we're going to get in there and we're going to work. We're going to do it as a group. We're not going to do it as individuals.
How much easier is it to, and recruiting is never easy. No, I'm not ever saying it, but is it more simplified now that you know exactly what you want and the national championship, you've got some skins on the wall, so you don't have to really go out on a limb as much as maybe you would early on in Coach Drew's tenure?
I think the biggest thing is, obviously, it's opened some more doors that in the past maybe weren't open because we've won the national championship. But in that, we have to stay the course. The plan and the philosophy that Scott put together with our staff that was successful was finding kids that's pretty good high character that love to be in the gym, that love to work. Guys that we didn't have to pull here. And, it may be a 5-star kid that's really talented, that loves to play, that we want in our program, and we believe we can really develop and can eventually become a pro and help us win a lot of games. or it might be a kid that's, maybe a little overlooked, that's not as highly ranked, but he fits what we're looking for. Or he fits the position. We're still going to recruit the same kind of athletic kids that have that mindset of coming here to get better during their time here in Waco and at Baylor.
Bill, the fact is you're taking 3 players, and Ty Beard, as you mentioned, is also going to be a part of it. North Macedonia is, of course, in the Balkans, I believe, or in Europe.
Yes.
And what does that also mean? Because Athletes in Action's representing whatever is the organization, of course, which you mentioned, but also this is something that these are young men that want to go do things and want to get out around the country or the world. It's kind of like a mission trip in a way in basketball terms.
Yes,
you gotta
very much so.
Yeah, and you have to have players you trust to go with you, too. That's the kind of player you have.
Yes, we're looking for high-character guys that want to have an experience, go outside the country and grow spiritually. We'll have a team time every day, a Bible study led by the tour director, a guy named Mike Siegfried. I've known over 25 years, who Scott knows very well and has been on trips with him too. And we have 8 guys going on the team, and we have some really high-level players. We have a kid that started at Texas A&M named Quentin Jackson, one of the better players in SEC.
Yep.
We have one of the best players at Texas State, a big kid named Isaiah Small, and we have another kid out of Louisiana, played at Northwestern State, was freshman of the year in his league, and we have a D2 kid from Dallas Baptist and a kid from John Brown in Arkansas. So we have a very balanced team, but all of them are looking for the experience to travel, but also to grow spiritually and to mature. It's one thing to do things in the country, but when you're able to go to a different country and experience a different culture and then, have an enjoyable time and get to play 5 basketball games, it's a good thing for a young person like that. It's a 10, 11-day trip. So it won't be like they're gone forever, but I know they'll grow and they'll mature and they'll have fun doing it, doing something they love, playing basketball.
Have you ever been to that part of the world?
Yes, I've been there twice. I was the assistant. We had a GA here 2 years ago that played for Scott Drew named Lubo Spartan. He played for him at Valparaiso. And I had gotten to be really good friends with him through the previous years and had worked at camp with him because of my relationship through Scott with him. And I was his U18 assistant coach 2 years ago. And I went to the FIBA National World Championships, FIBA European Championships, and it happened to be held in Macedonia. And I was in Skopje, the town we were going to be playing in, for 10 days with the U18 Czech Republic team as an assistant. So I've been there before. It's a beautiful town, and it's just a really neat part of the world. And I actually have a couple friends there. There's a guy named Joel that he actually runs a pro team, and he's helped set some of this trip up because he's gotten the people we're going to play that are coming to Skopje to play us. We're playing a couple friendly games, and then we'll be in a small tournament with a U20 team out of Macedonia, a U20 team from Ukraine, and a U20 team from Bulgaria. So those are the best players from those countries that are under 20 years old. So it's a big deal over in Europe basketball for teams to travel around and play in events like that.
We know about the young men that are going with you that have been on the team, and of course Dale Bonner, the transfer from Fairmont State. Have you had a chance to kind of watch him enough of what he brings to the table?
Yes, I have. He's very explosive, very quick, and has a nice shot. The thing he needs to work on, he's got to get stronger. He played at a lower level of basketball in Division II, and it wasn't quite as physical. But he's a great kid and has really bought into what we believe in and how we try and groom players and help them get in the weight room. And he's really been dedicated to coming in and working with Charlie Melton extra. If I'm not mistaken, we work out at a certain time every day, whether it's 8 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon with Charlie. And he comes in every day early. He's always there early getting extra work in. And when you have that kind of mindset, you work like that, you're going to get better. And he needs this year to grow and develop. And I think it'll be a great year for him. And I think he's going to be a really, really good combo guard for us in the future.
You were a part of the Mavericks. You've been a part of the Bucks, obviously Golden State. You've done all that. You've been at the junior college level. You've been at the highest level of Division I basketball as well. So you've been around. What are your thoughts about maybe Jason Kidd with the Mavericks, if you don't mind? And then you helped a lot when it came to the development of Michael Finley, and he appears to be in the front office as well.
Yeah, well, first off, I'll talk about somebody I know. Michael Finley is a class person. When I was with the Mavericks, I was hired as the player development coach in 1999, and Donnie Nelson hired me and said, "Hey, we got a young kid we're drafting from Germany. His name's Dirk Nowitzki, and I want you to spend some time in the gym with him and look over him and just help him for the adjustment." And I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you I helped him on the floor a whole lot. I helped him more off the floor than anything. I tell people all the time, what if you had a son or daughter that was 18 and you took him to Germany and you got him a job and got him an apartment and then you left and let them go on their own? You spent 2 weeks with them and said, "Hey, you're on your own." And that's kind of what happened with Dirk. His parents came over here. They put him in a nice place to live. They spent 2 or 3 weeks, and then they left. And Dirk was kind of on his own. He'd been to this country on an all-star team before, but I helped him more off the floor, just with different things in our culture. And he had a great work ethic, and I'd go extra with him. And I knew he was going to be a great player. I didn't know he was going to be an all-time great player. I didn't know he was going to be a super all-star, but he had a tremendous work ethic. But during that time I was there, Mike Finley was on the team, and I spent a lot of time after practice working with him and helping with the three-point shot and helping him get the ball down and up to the shooting pocket a little quicker. And he was a really, really kind and generous person and very caring of everybody around him. I remember one night I stayed really late. Like, we practiced from 2 to 4, and it was probably 6 or 7. And Mike had gone in and lifted. He'd gotten a massage, and he'd gotten some rehab. And he came back on the floor and said, "Hey, I'd like to get some shots in, but if you need to leave, that's okay." And I went, "No, this is my job, Mike. I love this kind of stuff, okay? This is why I got hired." So I probably spent an hour with him just rebounding, shooting, and having him do little quickness drills, get his shot off a little quicker. So I saw him last year when I was able to go to a game before COVID, and he came down and visited me before the game, and I'm excited for him. He's a good man, and for him to have an opportunity like that in the franchise he played for is really special, and I think he'll do a good job. So Jason Kidd, I only know from a distance. I've met him once, but I think, being a former player, I think I read something on Hoopside or something where he said, he was the head coach with the Nets at a younger age and then the Bucks, and that he had learned from some of his mistakes previously, and that, sometimes you can't be quite as critical, and you got to let guys work through their mistakes and be able to move on. And, he was a great player, and he knows what it takes to be successful. So hopefully his experiences with the Lakers and has prepared him even more to, help Luka and Porzingis and Tim Hardaway and those guys be prepared to win a championship.
So has Dirk ever had 1 ounce of normal NBA superstar ego to him?
Never. I tell you a good story. I went 2 years ago, I guess it was, when he was still playing, the last year he played. I went to a game. Obviously, because I worked there, I know, obviously I knew Donnie really, really well, and Keith Grant in the front office, and one of the scouts was there who played for me. He's a foreign scout named Alvydas Pazdrasis. Anyway, he said, "You want to say hi to Dirk?" And the game was over, so he took me in the back. I knew where Dirk would be because I knew his routine. He was on the training table. He happened to be eating a little plate of food, and he was icing his knees. I came in there, and right away he jumped up and said, "Billy P, how you doing, man?
Wow.
What's going on?" And I haven't seen that guy in 5 years. I had not seen him in 5 years. He gave me a big hug, and he sat down and started talking to me. He said, "Hey, remember when you did this for me when I just first came over here? And remember when we went over, one night I went and helped him bought a bed. He needed a bed for his room. So he said, "Remember that bed you helped me buy?" And so we talked about 30 minutes, and I said, I'm not real big on getting autographs, but I said, "Hey, would you get?" He said, "Sure." And he went and got me a picture of him scoring his 30,000th point on Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. He autographed for me and is hanging in my office. So never, ever has he ever been like that. I tell people, if he was eating dinner with us and you didn't know it was Dirk, you'd say, "Man, that guy's a great guy. I love hanging out with him." And he's always been that way, always.
Bill, when we found out David K was nice enough, when I saw the story that Ashley had posted about Athletes in Action with you and Zach and LJ and also then Dale Bonner. So I asked, I do my homework on you, other than what we know. So I'm supposed to ask you about meat sweats.
Oh, my God. You can't put me on national radio on meat sweats for the first time, huh? Oh, boy. Okay, so here's my meat sweat story. And people listening are going to go, "That guy's out of it. I never heard of that." So I'm working in Milwaukee. I'm a scout, assistant coach scout. And one summer I go to scout, and I go to Utah. There's a summer league there, And I go to watch a game, and it ends really late at night. I'm staying in a Courtyard by Marriott. I go back to the hotel. I go, and there's a little, like a sports bar pub downstairs. I don't feel like going out. I go down there and get me a big hamburger and a sweet tea and some French fries. It's probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. I go to bed. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I get up, and I am just sweating like crazy. And I feel sick. All right, I'm hot. I got the shakes a little bit. And this goes on for like 2 hours. And next morning I get up, and I'm like, man, what is going on? So I get up, and I go work out. I watch the game again, and it's kind of over with. So I come home, and the next Monday morning we have a staff meeting, and somebody says, what are y'all doing? So I tell this story. So Scott Skiles jumps up and says, boy, that's the meat sweat. All right, you never heard of the meat sweat? He said, you ate too much meat after like 9 o'clock at night, and your body had to process all that. It got all tired and sweated out.
Wow.
That's the meat sweat story.
Well,
people tell me that it's really true.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people say, yeah, I had that too.
It's better than food poisoning, but
that's exactly right.
So what does ship them out mean?
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, when I was in the D League with the Orlando Magic, I was head coach of the Erie Bayhawks, and we in the D League, the nature of the game is you're moving guys. You're trying to take looks at new players. And my first year there, we probably had, I had a roster of 10, and I bet we had 10 different guys come in to fill number 9 and 10. And they'd have 2 weeks or so, and it just got to the point I go, he doesn't get it. He doesn't work hard enough. He doesn't study a scout report. He's not going to cut it. I'd say, ship him out. Let's go, next one. And I'd bring him in my office, and I'd say, son, I really care for you, David. You're a nice kid, but you know what? You can't show up for practice in the NBA. This is a business. You have to show up early. You have to stretch. You have to do treatment. You have to lift weights. You show up at practice at 10 o'clock, and we start practice at 10:30. You're not ready. So good luck. We're shipping you out. So they tease me all the time because, eventually I tell guys, this is a business, and people pay for when you win. They don't pay when you lose, and when you don't win, you get fired. So we bring you in, I'd sit down, and, most of these kids are right out of college or they played a year or two. And I said, you want to be a pro? Well, that league is 450 of the best players in the world. And there's somebody standing right behind you that's waiting for that opportunity. And in the NBA, there's only about 30 or 40 guys that are, superstars, the rarity guys, Kevin Durant,
sure,
James Harden, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. Well, there's only so many of those guys. And the rest of the league essentially is guys that are role players. They understand a role, they play that role, and they do it all the time. So we were looking for role guys, and I'd say, not good enough. Ship them out right now. Ship them out.
Well, you're just being
the way it works.
Yeah, you're just being honest. Now, you're also known, Bill, and I know we're having you on longer than we asked, but we appreciate it. Again, Bill Peterson, L.J. Cryer, Zach Loveday, and Dale Bonner, among others, from Texas colleges, programs, and elsewhere around the country, going to North Macedonia to compete with athletes in action for about 10 days, a week and a half, against the best of the best in certain areas around that part of the country in Europe at certain age levels. You are known as well with working with the big men. And we know that Baylor early on had a bunch of guys early on, big men that were like highly recruited and, tremendous players. And one of the first ever was Epe Udo, among others. And I know you've been there 5 years, but you've seen what they've now done. And you've helped with what Flo Thamba or Jonathan Chama-Chachma in a short amount of time, among some of the other big guys. What is it about you and knowing about the big men, and why do you throw the ball at their head so hard?
How do you know all that? How do you know I throw the ball at their head like that?
You know basketball. We know how to do an interview, I think.
Yes, you do. When I was, it kind of started when I was at Colorado State as an assistant coach. The head coach was a guy named Dale Lair, and he tried to find a niche, and we didn't really have any, and there wasn't a lot of really good players in Colorado. So what we started doing is recruiting a lot of big, tall kids that were 7 foot tall. And most of them that were 6'11", 7 foot were slow, and they couldn't move. And, so I got this idea from when I was younger, because I always did it as a kid, to jump rope. I've never seen a boxer skip rope that couldn't move his feet. So we teach these kids how to skip rope, and Jerome Tank's done a great job with Flo Thamba and John Chachamora and, just Mark Vidal, Matt Meyer, those guys that get in here. And the key is doing it with them every day. And we always used to say in the NBA, show me a guy with hands and feet, because we can work and get their feet quicker by skipping the rope, and there's different things we can do to get their hands a little better. So we're looking for their hands and feet. Can they catch a lob? Can they catch a bounce pass? And when I was in Milwaukee, Epe Udo, I coached him in Milwaukee, but we had a young guy that wasn't very good with his hands, and I thought, I can talk to him all I want, but that doesn't help. I'm obviously much older and have from the old school. When I was a kid, my dad taught me how to swim. He pushed me in the pool, okay, and said, "You better learn how to swim.
Yep.
Go, survive." And obviously he was there to help me up, but that's kind of the way I was taught. So I tell them, you need to learn to catch this ball. So I go to the top of the key and I throw the ball 100 miles an hour at them, and in the beginning they can't catch it. They're not used to it. They're just not prepared. And then eventually their eyes and their hands start coming together and they start snatching it. And we had a guy from VCU named Larry Sanders, was a rookie, and I did that every day for 3 months, and he couldn't catch one. And he'd holler at me and scream and say, "This is stupid," and all that kind of stuff. And I just keep doing it after practice. And then about 6 months in, he starts snatching every one of them, catching it, dunking it, catching it and dunking it. And the next year he averaged, 10 points and 11 rebounds, and he signed a contract for $44 million because he could go snatch a ball, and he was 6'11" with a 7'5" wingspan. And, I just believe when you fire that ball at them hard enough, they figure a way out to catch it.
Well, that
starts developing them.
You're right, and it works. And you can blame Jerome and Jacobs and Scott and others for us knowing about meat sweats and many others.
We have a great staff.
Oh, you do.
We have one of the best staffs in the country. A.D. Mahaltra and Ty Beard and Jared Nunes, and we just added Jason Smith to help with the NIL legislation that's come about. But this is one of the few staffs I've ever been on in my life, and I'm 64, that, in so many places where you go coach, the coaches get in there, and one guy recruits this guy, and he's like, "You got to play my guy. You got to play my guy. And I recruited this guy, and I did this, and I did that." We don't have that here, and that's one of the reasons we're successful. We argue and we fight, and sometimes, we agree to disagree. I'll say, "Hey, I disagree with you, Jerome, but that's okay. I respect you and you respect me. Let's move on." And that's what we do. But it's our guys. It's our players. All right. And our kids know that too. We're all pulling for all of them. If Mark Vidal plays well, we're all happy, not just the guy that recruited him, and that's, I think, why we work so well together, is that it's not one guy. It's our group and our organization and the team that's together, that we're all pulling for that guy that we recruited. And the other thing we recruit as a staff. Every Zoom call, all of us are on there. We all have a portion, and that's Scott. Scott puts that together with the other guys. Scott, John, Jerome, and Alvin are the guys that go on the road and watch and play. But when they come to campus, every one of us spends time with them. Every one of us is at a dinner or go to lunch with their parents. And we have moms and dads come in here. There was a mom in here 2 weeks ago, and obviously I can't tell you who,
right,
of a top 30 player in the country. And she said, "I am so impressed that every one of your coaches, I spent time with every one of your coaches since I've been here." And a lot of people don't do that. They just don't.
And you can feel it, see it, watch it, and sense it as well along the way. Have you ever disagreed enough with an official during a game as a head coach where you got more than maybe technical fouls?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. They probably told you that too. When I was in the D League one night, we were playing in I don't know, Sioux Falls or Reno or somewhere. And I just thought they were sticking us, man. They were sticking it up as far as they could, and they were hacking us, and I had enough. And I walked on the floor and hollered at them, and they threw me out. And I said, I ain't got enough. So I kept walking at them and screaming at them. And I'm not I don't swear a whole lot. I just kept saying, "This is bull crap. This is garbage. You're cheating, and you ain't called one foul on us. And, you called 10 fouls on us, and we haven't shot one free throw, and they've shot 15. I'm not a moron. It doesn't take a engineer or brain surgeon to figure out they're shooting free throws and we're not. It should be a little closer." And so I got fined pretty good for that, and went back in the locker room and sat there the second half and took the L, and then got on a plane and went somewhere else the next night and played again. So, yeah, I've lost my temper a time or two.
Well, hey, that's from somebody like me that has issues with that as well. And we had fun, man. Bill, this has been an incredible the experience of what your knowledge of basketball, and also the trip with Athletes in Action with LJ, Zach, and also Dale and others. It's fantastic. We appreciate it. Enjoy it. And thanks for your time. You too.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good weekend.
You know, you look at that. That's Bill Peterson, a Baylor men's basketball assistant coach. You think about that. So I sent out a text, and I thought I had included Alvin, and I have on many others when we have somebody else on. And I asked him, hey, we have Bill Peterson, and this is late notice. Tell me something about Bill Peterson other than what we know, because we know about him. And those things came pop, 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 pop from that staff. Appreciate them, the insight as well, and thanks to Bill Peterson. That's awesome. North Macedonia is in the, what would be that, Paul? It's in the southwest of Europe? Southeast Europe. Okay.
Next to Albania.
And he's been there before, knows people there, and so comfortable with that area. It's not always the easiest place to be.
It's totally, North Macedonia is kind of a weird, it's totally landlocked all around.
I saw Kosovo's up in there.
Yeah, Kosovo, right? Serbia, it's all landlocked all the way around. And so they've got kind of an interesting population. But yeah, North Macedonia, so.
One of the things I never did, and I went to Stephen F. Austin, and it was not a part of the curriculum, or at least maybe if it was, I just wasn't paying attention, or back then it wasn't something available, is one of the things about Baylor, and we have a lot of guys and girls that have been to Baylor, go to Baylor, is the mission trip part. And Armstrong, is that something that is a part of the curriculum that is mandatory? The mission trip. It's not. It's just some people, the opportunities are there and you go. And so that's pretty cool. I don't think that was ever available. If it was, I just didn't read about it because there surely was no email or phone calls to me, back in the day. Did you go on a mission trip?
No. I went on a couple.
Other than you going to University of Florida to Gainesville to get drunk.
No. Okay. When I was in middle school and high school, we did projects and things like that, like weekend stuff. But I never went to another country to do anything, and I wish I had.
I did too.
But yeah, I wish I had.
Maybe because I was a military kid and I was around the world anyway, so it wasn't like maybe something that was as on my radar. But I think that's pretty cool. No matter, they're not the only one. Other colleges do it all the time. It's awesome. The mission trip. My mom and dad, who are no longer with us, haven't been since 2015. They've been overseas where they literally were in the mud and helping build a house. And it's hard work, and it's for people who think sometimes you kind of complain about what goes on around here, and sometimes there are reasons to complain. And then you go to some place, it's a third world country, to help them out and realize what really is tough. All right, when we come back, a very quick break. To wrap up, I know that was an extended interview with Bill Peterson. Mack Rhoades from earlier this week on Name, Image, Likeness, the college football playoff, and also the Supreme Court ruling, SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicalOT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become a high-performance man if, in fact, you don't feel like you are. What does that mean? As you get older, father time takes away your testosterone level. It does. Your body changes in many different ways. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues when it comes to low testosterone. Low testosterone can hurt you when it comes to, or it can create problems with sleeping, sex drive, and even your energy. You feel like just lethargic. Your testosterone level can drop as you get older. How do you know? Maybe you've had 1, 2, or all of those symptoms. Go to PettyClinicalOT.com. There's an email and a phone number, top left-hand corner. Contact them. Tell them I sent you. And say, I don't know. I'm not sure. You may say, well, I'm not old enough. Well, you never know. Sometimes in your 30s, testosterone level can change. Dr. Petty will set you up with blood work, get your lab results, and if your testosterone levels are too low, put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man that you want and need to be and maybe used to be at PettyClinicalOT.com.
It's the 4th of July sales event going on at Allen Samuels on the new 2021 1500 Ram Lone Star Quad Cab trucks. The three-peat Motor Trend Truck of the Year is built to serve with total values up to $5,250 or 0% for 72 months plus $1,000. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco. Come see the Ram Lone Star Quad Cab during the 4th of July sales event. Visit Allen Samuels today or online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rhoades Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rhoades group meal.
Next in line.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Fitness for qualified buyer with $4,000 down to 2.9% TTNL extra. See dealer for details.
Travel is back during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. Explore America in the space and safety of an SUV or truck from Richard Carr. Savings like a 2016 Buick Encore for $148 a month, a 2017 GMC Sierra for only $318 a month, or a 2016 GMC Acadia for only $228 a month. At Richard Carr, 100% credit approval is always the goal. Log on or get here now and save at the summer savings event at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina of investing.
Last time I saw Mack Rhoades, which is like Valentine's Day, whenever it was, he had this beard. He was introducing somebody. I think it might Nicky Collin. And by God, I bet like now he's got this caveman look. It's been so long. So do you still have it going? Hi, Mack. How you doing? Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor. How we doing?
Hey, Smoak, I just special thank you to you for allowing me to come back on the show again.
Yeah,
I've tried. And I'm just grateful that you allowed me to come back on. So
well, we
yes,
thought
I have the
yeah
through end of July. That will mark a year, and then we may make a change.
Okay, all right. We're glad you're back. We hope that that I know, and I know you've been pushing, and there's always something that pops up as well. Thanks for being a part of it. A lot of things to get to since the last time we spoke with you, including the college football playoff expansion, the NIL, the Supreme Court ruling. Let's start with the college football playoff expansion.
Yeah, I think it's I think just overall general viewpoint. I think it's positive for.
Okay. May have been disconnected, and see if we can get Mack back on again. And the answer coming about college football playoff and his thoughts about it, going from what is 4 right now and moving on pretty quickly, although it still may take a few years, but just the fact that they are basically all full go with the college football playoff expansion from 4 to 12. And we'll try to establish again with Mack, Rhoades. Normally Tuesdays at 4:20. This week at here at 4:20 on SicEm365 Radio. So, but think about a lot of things that have changed since the last time we did have him on, and all of these things I mentioned are new. Every one of them is new news, updated news. And we'll try to reestablish with Mack again. By the way, you could still get on the poll, 254-339-1122. Your thoughts about Baylor recruiting and Dave Aranda. Has it changed and or validated your opinion on him from day one? And also on the Twitter poll, at David Smoak, there's a poll going on. And right now, 80% or so of you say that you have, in fact, been kind of given a little kick in the pants, an adrenaline rush with the football recruiting the way it's going, the positivity. Back with Mack, Rhoades again. Back to the college football playoff expansion. Good news, good thing. Your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think really good news. I think it's positive for college football, and I think well thought out. Again, I was talking about the working group and the 4 individuals, the 3 commissioners, and Jack Swarbrick, and so Commissioner Bowlesby and Sankey and Thompson. And so I thought very, very thoughtful. Obviously took the next step Tuesday, yesterday with the board of managers, the 11 presidents, chancellors, approving, going on to the summer review and detail. But again, I think it will speak well for college football. I think as you wind down and you're playing in November, there's just more teams that are part of the conversation. And, you think in regards to Baylor specifically, the 2019 season where I think we were ranked maybe 5th or 6th coming out of the championship game, we would have participated, in the college football playoff. The whole TCU Baylor, controversy, there wouldn't have been any controversy. Would have been in the CFP playoff, and I think it's great for the Big 12. Many years the Big 12 would have 2 in, and I think as I look back, there may have even been a year or 2 where we may have had 3 in, and so I think it's positive. The value on conference champions I think was huge, right? The six highest ranked conference champions, and then the 6 highest. Other teams as selected, ranked by the CFP selection committee. So all good stuff. The bye for 1 through 4, the matchups. I think there needs to be some thought in terms of those first round matchups. 5 through 12 on home campuses. That might be the exactly right way to do it. Those 8 teams won't necessarily have a bowl type experience. So I think there needs to be conversation, both the visiting and home team. And so, I think, some thought and some conversation about that. Obviously if you play in the conference championship and you don't win it, and so now you're 5 through 12, you could play as many as 17 games. And so, there needs to be some additional discussion on student athlete, well-being, health and safety, the whole academic component to this. you're probably kicking off those first round games in mid-December. So again, a lot of detail to be worked out. I think we're entering the 8th year of a 12-year contract. When does this happen? I've got some personal thoughts. I think, potentially if you're ESPN, you don't want this going to the open market, and you might want to keep it all to yourself. Well, if you want to do that, you probably have to come in with a really, really robust offer if they do that. And again, the board of managers feel like it's substantial. And so it's going to stay completely with ESPN. Maybe this starts, sooner rather than later versus, getting to year 12 and then going to the open market. So a lot of stuff in play, but I think it's great for college football.
Mack, how much of this was pushed by the kind of fan fatigue of seeing the same 3 or 4 teams kind of cycle through the playoff, and how much of this was pushed by, look, COVID happened, there was a revenue drop, let's take a step forward to make sure that we do something that gets people excited again and can make up some of that revenue that maybe you'll never make back?
I think I'll start with the latter, Paul, and I think it's a great point that you bring up, but quite frankly, that point that you did bring up is the first time I've heard that, and so it wasn't a lot of conversation. Certainly with within the AD group, that wasn't a point of discussion. And then I think the initial, point that you made, this was a surprise to all of us. I mean, this was the best kept secret. I think all of us were, wow, 12, and we expected maybe 8, but not 12. And so when I first heard the news and learned of it, I really had to spend probably 24 hours processing and trying to figure out, is this good 12 versus 8? Does this really, really water it down? But, Paul, I think to your first point, the expansion, more inclusivity, where you just have more fan bases excited about, the end of their season. They're still in play. They still have an opportunity to maybe have a chance to compete for a national championship. I think that's really healthy for our sport. We're with the working group listening to maybe any public outcry in terms of expansion. I don't know that's the case. I think they just really focused on what's really good for the overall long-term health of the sport.
Mack, there's been discussion now for a couple of years. I mean, we brought it up with you before about the grant of rights agreements that'll be ending for various conferences here over the next 2-3 years and what that might lead into. But now with this expanded playoff, do you think this changes the outlook or the discussion about potential realignment here in the next few years?
Craig, that's a great question because I do think they're intertwined. I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. So one of the things, right, is now the CFP has a bite at the apple before maybe Big Ten before maybe Pac-12 and before Big 12, and so how much money remains in the system? Is there enough money, right? Depending upon what if we go to 12 and that new CFP TV agreement is like, and then what remains and how that plays out for the rest of the conferences. Do you get increased revenue as an institution through the CFP, or do you get it through a new potential TV agreement, or do you get it through both? And I think that remains to be seen. I think I think, just the fact that the CFP moving to 12 potentially brings more revenue into at least the Power 5 or the Autonomous 5 institutions, that may stabilize any type of, conference realignment movement tied to grant of rights and TV agreements. And so I think it has the opportunity to provide stability. And initially when I think I commented, I do think this is really good for the Big 12.
Mack, because of what might alleviate the immediate pressure for realignment and what you just answered to Craig's question, I got the feeling on occasion that faith-based schools at times, maybe from cultural pressures, were kind of being pushed into trying to change some of their long-standing beliefs as far as their faith-based beliefs, and that maybe realignment would force some faith-based schools to change because of the pressures of being accepted. Has that ever been the case?
Man, that's an interesting question, and it's so hard for me to speak for and on behalf of other institutions, and so I don't know that that's right or fair of me to speak to, but what I will say, is for Baylor, we're never going to compromise that faith base, our mission, our Christian values, and I do truly believe that there is a place for faith-based institutions for Baylor, amongst the Power 5, and I think it's good for college athletics, and again, I just know that here we at Baylor are not going to compromise that. We're not going to shy away from it. We're not going to tone it down. It's who we are, and I think it's what makes us not better. Not going to say that, but it certainly makes us different, and hopefully it makes us grounded and genuine and focused on our mission of preparing champions for life, developing our young people, challenging them in every way to be the best they can be, including spiritually. And so I think there's a place for faith-based institution amongst the quote-unquote elite, and I'm proud of how we're navigating that. I'm not going to tell you that we're perfect, but I'm proud of our head coaches and our staff and our student athletes.
All right, Mack, NIL has kind of, it's kind of grown some horns here. Or I don't know what's going on, on the end of the NCAA, because it seems like July 1st is bearing down on them, and they say that they have a potential plan to get it in place by July 1st. But if they don't, how does this go in Texas, Florida, and all these other places? And then what's to stop someone in another state from just taking a deal, knowing it's probably going to work out, and kind of daring the NCAA to suspend them? Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it's been extremely fluid. Certainly, the Supreme Court decision on the Austin case has maybe caused another pause, another delay. We'll see. The NCAA has been working for. I can't even recall the timeline, but it's certainly no shorter than a year, and it may be in upwards of 2 years of a framework of name, image, and likeness legislation, and I certainly think it's reasonable, and I'm hoping that here sooner rather than later, we're able. The NCAA is able to implement that legislation. As the governor signed name, image, and likeness legislation. Governor Abbott did for the state of Texas. That begins July 1. And so we, Baylor, and I'm certain all the other institutions within the state of Texas are prepared and ready for that. Those institutions and states that don't have name, image, and likeness legislation on July 1, and maybe the NCAA hasn't implemented anything at that point in time, I do think they're going to have some leniency and some freedom for their student athletes to go ahead and pursue endorsements, etc., without any penalty. But for the good of our industry, for the good of the collegiate model, we do need to get everybody on the same page sooner rather than later. And so, as I think, as soon as the NCAA can pass and implement name, image, and likeness legislation across the board, where at least there's a level playing field for everyone, I think the sooner the better for all of us. So interesting time. It's really fluid. The conversations are. It's almost a little bit like dealing with COVID, just the uncertainty and trying to prepare, 8 different models and trying to have conversations with coaches and, well, we think this is what's going to happen, but until this happens, then we're going to do this. And if this changes, then we're going to change to that.
So, Mack, I think you kind of answered it, but just to be clear, when July 1st hits, you guys are going to be, ready to roll. I know A&M and Texas have already been kind of promoting their, they got unique names for whatever their thing is. But when July 1st hits, you guys are going to be ready to take on name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, we'll be completely prepared. We're going to handle it a little bit different, Craig. We're not like everybody else, and I'll say this: Baylor's not probably for everybody. We accept everybody, we love everybody, but it's not going to be for necessarily everyone. It's not for every coach. It's not for maybe every student athlete. We certainly want our student athletes and prospective student athletes to know and understand that their name, image, and likeness is important, and we want to help them and teach them to maximize that and learn about it. But the Baylor brand is also very, very important. We think we can do both. We can intertwine both. I think the thing for us is, we have what we call a Baylor Built program, our character formation program. So a lot of the things that schools are announcing and are talking about, whether that's personal finances and branding and all that, those are things that we have been doing already. And so we'll have a little additional element to it, to what we do, and we'll call it Baylor Built Plus. But we're going to be really genuine about it, and we want to be very, very careful in terms of me versus we, and our coaches are all on board, and I believe our student athletes will be on board, and we're going to be, again, continue to be very, very thoughtful on how we do it, and we think it's a great opportunity to continue to educate our student athletes.
Mack, has there ever been a concern about the NIL? And you just really great answer based on a lot of what you mentioned there, because I learned a lot by just hearing that. But has there ever been a concern about the NIL being those who have 35 or 40,000 students in the cities that are different than maybe Waco? I mean, Waco, listen, this city does a lot with Baylor now. There's no question about it. But was there ever any concern it might separate the larger schools from the private schools, or even the smaller enrollment schools?
Yeah, I don't think so. Not in that regard. Smoak, I think where maybe some of the angst is the recruiting piece and the monitoring of it, and just making sure that there's guardrails for the recruiting piece, and then how do you monitor it? And so I think for me, if there's worry, it's always been in that particular area, and potential endorsement deals and those types of things. And so, I'm at peace. Again, I think there's a uniqueness about Baylor, and we're gonna be fine. And we're gonna continue to fight, scratch, and claw. And as you know, we don't have the biggest budget as many, but we find a way to get it done because we've got great people. So that's where I worry when we think about name, image, and likeness. I think in general, this can be really positive. I think it's another opportunity to, and this is the way we look at it. It's another opportunity and a way to educate our young people. I think if there's been any additional worry to the recruiting piece, is probably, do you have separation of student athletes within your own department and within your own athletics department? And so, how does that look and feel and work for the star, women's basketball player, or men's basketball player, or quarterback, or baseball player versus, your everyday, maybe not star? And is there just so much attention and highlight that it breaks team chemistry, team dynamics? That's where I worry, and so that's where I think. And again, this remains to be seen, and I'm sure we're going to have to tweak and evolve and all of those things. That there is a place for your brand and how you enhance that and maximize it, but there's a way to do it within the team, and there's a way to do it under the Baylor brand umbrella. And so that's how we're trying to intertwine it. And again, who knows? We've never done this before. We think we have a really good plan in place, but I'm sure there's going to need to be some tweaks. And I think also in the end the market will correct itself. I mean, we'll go way out, and then it will come back and settle. At a reasonable place. And, we want to be really genuine with our current student athletes and prospective student athletes, that whatever they hear from us, we're going to be able to deliver. And it's the way we're actually going to live.
Mack, in a regard, one way to look at this, and I know this might be pretty cynical, but is this a way that the NCAA may not have to monitor as many, pay-for-play cheating scandal type things? Because a lot of the things that, some of these things, I just think back to the Big Red Motors in Norman and what was happening there. Could they just not make them compensated endorsers, pay them the same thing, and be on their way as long as they fill out the paperwork?
Yeah, I think, the word deregulation comes to mind, Paul. And so I think in a sense there's deregulation in terms of some of those areas that you mentioned. But I don't know if this, sounds, conflicting, but, that there's got to be with this deregulation, there's got to be some guardrails, so that people don't take it past the limit, and now we have certain recruiting advantages, etc. So I don't know that's certainly, I don't think that's the motivation. That was the motivation behind it. But in a sense, it's deregulation, and it probably makes it easier in some ways to. Or it's maybe in some ways it's less to monitor.
Mack, this is off the current topic, but your football staff has been pretty busy here lately. They're getting to hold camps for the first time in 2 years. They're able to have people actually visit campus, and it's safe to say it's gone pretty well for them with commits over the last couple of weeks. Do you just see an extra energy on campus right now with the football staff and all the people that are making their way to and from Waco to visit?
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been a lot of fun. I walked down into our lobby today, and it was filled with unofficial visits, and Coach Aranda and the staff are doing a great job. I really mean that. I think they're connecting. All of our camps have been sold out. We've got one remaining, I think, on July 31. But there's this renewed energy. You said it, and it's just good to see young people, walking around. It's good it's great to have, the visits, the in-person meetings, all of those things just throughout the department. So there is an energy, there's an excitement, and again, football, but all of our programs are doing a great job.
I know you got to go, but the track and field, Trayvon Bromell, Baylor graduate, Baylor alum, Casey Lightfoot last night or 2 nights ago qualifies in the pole vault. We had Will London the third make it as well.
And Brittany
Griner in basketball, and there's still some that are kind of in a position.
Yep.
But to me, that's pretty amazing that you have those amount of Olympians. And I think that based on what I see from the alums and people who are fans of all the various sports, they're embracing that. And how important is that you're going to have that brand out at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, it is important. And I think it's a sense of pride for all of us. I think just the opportunity to represent the United States, and I know that we have our issues as a country, but it's the greatest country in the world, and the fact that we have people from Baylor representing the United States, the highest level in the Olympics. You mentioned Brittany. I'm so happy for her and excited for her, and Trayvon and Will and Casey, and man, it's just I'm proud of them, and it speaks to those three track and field student athletes. It just speaks to the great track and field tradition, and Clyde Hart, Todd Harbor, and just the great job. We didn't even mention the 3 track and field individual national champions that we just had, Aaliyah and Akira and Casey. And so, yeah, it's just I think it's nothing but positive for our institution. This little faith-based school on the Brazos, right? And again, we're going to continue to fight, scratch, and claw, and be the very, very best we can be, and remain humble, and always know and understand that it's for His glory and not ours.
Mack, great to have you back. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you here pretty soon. Thanks for your time today, and thanks for a little extra time. It's great to have you back on the show. Appreciate it.
Same here. It's great to be with all of you. Thank you again. Appreciate you all.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor. There's a couple of things in there. One, they are ready for July 1st, the national image likeness, and they are going to do things perhaps a little bit differently than maybe even we think, but how they're going to position themselves. There was a part in there that he even mentioned the campaign name, and I was going to write it down, and I did not do that.
Baylor Built and Baylor Built Plus.
Yeah, and so that's a part of it, along with some other notes about the college football playoff expansion, name, image, likeness elsewhere, conference realignment. All right, that was Mack Rhoades earlier this week. Now think about a lot of things that have been on the table since the last time he had joined us, which is normally Tuesdays at 4:20. This week it was on Wednesday. The name, image, likeness, he made it very clear they're going to be ready. They are ready. They have a plan. The college football playoff, and then also the Supreme Court ruling, the 9-0 ruling earlier this week. And since that time, and in fact, he was named the Athletic Director of the Year by the Sports Business Journal, which we brought up yesterday. So that is, in fact, Mack Rhoades from earlier this week, a bunch of new information that we have not really talked about much at all. Now, when we come back, it's 5:33, a couple of notes up. College World Series update. Boy, what a tough day for NC State in many ways, including the scoreboard against Vanderbilt. But what happened to them today? Texas tonight in their game
against Mississippi State, where if they win, they get a if necessary game tomorrow after their 1 a.m. win against Virginia this morning. All of that, and a couple of other notes as well. Paul's top 5 at 5:55. This is SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, their 4th of July sales event going on right now. The 2021 1500 Ram Lone Star Quad Cab. The trucks. 3-peat Motor Trend Truck of the Year, built to serve. Values up to $5,250, 0% for 72 months, plus $1,000 on top of that. Total values, again, $5,250 or 0% financing for 72 months, and you'll get $1,000 back. Alan Samuels, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Ram trucks, they have all of the Jeep cars, trucks and SUVs available. Not trucks, but cars and SUVs available as well. And then, of course, don't forget that Chrysler Pacifica, one of the great minivans you could possibly want, especially with all the travel you have coming up this summer. One other note on the Dodge Charger GT, total values of $4,250. And 0% for 72 months. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love. Serve hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
538, SicEm365 Radio. Appreciate the calls from today. Thank you to those of you who also have contacted us on the Twitter pages or the text line. TJ, by the way, when Paul was discussing the NCAA, hey, look, the NCAA has to look like they've done something. Otherwise, it's a joke. They can throw out a million things. They can take their sweet time. They can procrastinate better than anyone. That's their MO. They tend to play with the freedom of smaller schools and keep them on the line, giving them just enough information not to know what could happen. In reference to Paul and the call from Jason in Dallas and Fort Worth about Baylor recruiting and whether or not anything will ever come down with the NCAA. But it doesn't. It seems like it's like in a holding pattern.
And again, I think now I'm hoping most Baylor fans aren't scared of it. They just want it over with.
No, I think
because I think for a long time there was this fear like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I think from the beginning I've been like, well, what's going to happen? I mean, look, if they couldn't make Penn State stick, how can they make Baylor stick? Because Penn State's got overturned, like the NCAA penalty, the vacated wins, and all that stuff got overturned in court. So the court precedent exists. So now the burden would be on the NCAA to prove that they were right the first time, which they couldn't do a couple of times with Penn State. Mm-hmm. So again, the court precedent is set. So the NCAA, and part of the reason I think this takes so long is they really have to think about, like, okay, what can we really punish them for? What are we not going to lose in court? Because they've already lost. And since they've already lost so many times, and there's all these other things that schools, as soon as they get the penalties, and believe me, once Kansas gets theirs for the Adidas thing, they're just going to go and look down the list and go, okay, this was in this case right there. Write it up, submit it to the courts, and the NCAA will have to drop it.
Yep.
And so that's why a top-down restructuring needs to happen with the NCAA, because at this point, you could not tell me what they do or even do well, but what they really do, like what their function is, other than to, host conventions or, tournaments. That's what they do. Like, they can organize that. So essentially, they're a glorified party planning committee. That's what they are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And not only that, they don't even do that right every time. I mean, just now, like, after how many women's tournaments they put on, the one they tried to roll out in San Antonio was like their first day on the job.
Well, I still don't, and again, I do think that that right now you have to just understand that no matter what event you put on for who, if it is an event for any particular part of the country, and I'm talking about people, groups, whoever, leagues that kind of feel like maybe they don't get enough or aren't being treated well enough, you damn sure need to go out and maybe make sure you have the icing on the cake along with the cherry and the chocolate syrup on top. Now, I also think, like the WNBA complaining about salaries, and I do think some things with NCAA women's basketball where it's a little bit too much whining. But in the case of the tournament, it's a national tournament, and you throw out about 4 barbells and a couple of sofas. That was just like stupid. Those people who decided that was enough, I don't care who they were, what schools, either they were associated with conferences, whatever, should have been fired on the spot. Fired on the spot.
I watched the media availability
awkward
that they had, and the first thing they kind of said, like, look, we understand that this is unacceptable. And I kept waiting for them to get to the point of, you all want to know how this could have happened. Because that's what everyone wants to know. It's like, okay, the food I can almost kind of understand is that, look, we've got to do 64 teams. We've never done that before. The food might be a little bit less, so it's going to be a sandwich in a box for a couple of days. Like that I can almost understand, but at least make it a good sandwich in a box. Wrap it in cellophane the nice way and make sure it looks good. But that's not what they did.
Those sandwiches in cellophane, the cheese gets gunky, gunk, whatever. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
at least
right.
get it right across the board.
Make it presentable. And look, most of those people are eating hotel food anyway, and hotel food is either really good or really bad depending on the hotel. But to have premier level Division I athletes and throw out one weight bench and a one rack of dumbbells for 64 teams.
Yeah.
Mind you.
No.
For 64 teams and not think like, they all, because it's not like the women's basketball teams at these universities don't have access to the facilities like everyone. Like they're working out at elite facilities, even if their facilities aren't up to.
Have you ever seen? Like I've walked through the back part of the Farrell Center with the men's and women's weight rooms. It's
state of the art.
It's state of the art.
State of the art. So you're going to tell them like, okay, look up on your phone hotel room workouts, and that's what you can do. I mean, that's not what they're there for. They're elite level athletes. The NCAA constantly does this stuff, and again, I cannot tell you if you sat down for an interview with Mark Emmert, Office Space style, and say, what would you say you do here? I don't think he could answer that question.
I don't know.
I mean, like
he doesn't have to answer it.
No, but I mean, like if you like write down, the consultants, Smokey. I don't know. I've never worked at a place where the consultants have come in and asked me what I do, but
no, the consultants come into a place. Let me explain something. I learned about this when I was in television. Consultants are something that, a lot of people bring them in. There's a bunch of great ones. But consultants are coming in. They're not going to come in and go, everything's fine. Even if it is. Their job is to tell you what you're doing wrong or tweak something. Otherwise, why are they there?
Yeah.
They're not going to go, but everything looks good.
If you had to sit down, if you put, if they had a committee of NCAA presidents and said, okay, Mark Emmert, we're paying you $3 or $4 million a year to be the head of the NCAA, what would you list as your job duties day in and day out? And
probably one of them is as a punching bag.
Yeah. And would you say that what you do is effective? Would you, if you could change anything? And part of it is he also might be a lobbyist for, for something that's going away. That's changed so much that he's arguing for old things. He's just, listen, I know we've got cars, but let me tell you about the horse and buggy.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it just.
All right, couple of updates. Vanderbilt just beat North Carolina State 3-1, so they live for another day. Those teams again play tomorrow. Winner of that game tomorrow goes on to play for the College World Series title in the best of three. Against either Texas or Mississippi State. Texas winning as early as 1 o'clock this morning against Virginia. They'll play Mississippi State tonight. If Texas wins, they force a playoff game, an elimination game tomorrow. If Mississippi State wins, they will play the winner eventually of Vanderbilt, NC State. But the story today, not only Vanderbilt winning and staying alive, North Carolina State had players get caught up in a COVID protocol. They had 13 players available, which means I don't know if they'll have more than that or less than that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they were playing shorthanded. That sucks, the timing of it.
Still
really
lost
really
3-1, right?
Still lost 3-1.
So that's,
had 2 on, bottom of the ninth with 2 outs and grounded into, I think, a forced play at short. Let's see. Lightning tonight against the Islanders, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Go
the winner
Bolts.
will go play Montreal. Not official, but imminent. Jason Kidd is the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks.
Mark Cuban has confirmed it. But, yeah, he said he's excited.
Okay. Then tonight also Game 3, 2 between Milwaukee and Atlanta. Atlanta up 1 game to none, best of 7. Right now, Clippers trail Phoenix 2-1 after winning last night. Game 4 is tomorrow.
Yeah, sans Kawhi Leonard again. By the way, if and it may not be this way, but I thought this last night. So if Vegas had won and Tampa wins. But that's going to happen this way. That would be, they could call that the Strip Club Cup.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Because of the city, the industry.
And here it is again. If Tampa Bay wins, they have a team, and they've done this before, the Lightning, but they have another team out of Tampa. The Rays played in the
World Series.
World Series.
Yeah.
Bucks win the World Series. Obviously, the Lightning, did they win it last year?
Lightning won this cup.
And the city of Tampa, or Tampa Bay, is right now playing for championship after championship. We'll come back. Paul Catalina's top 5 at 5:55. Let me tell you about Waco Custom Marketplace. It's too late if you didn't order this week, but by Wednesdays at 6, you can order live crawfish sacks, 30-pound sacks of live crawfish for a crawfish boil this weekend, $4.25 a pound. On top of that, if you order by Wednesday at 6 at Waco Custom Marketplace, Lake Air Drive in Waco, you can pick up after 2 o'clock on Fridays or anytime when they're open tomorrow. But you got to place the order by Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Also, tomorrow, and they're about to close at 6 o'clock right now, right down on 425 Lake Air Drive. Also, they have fajita meat available, both chicken and beef. The chicken fajita meat, $3.25 a pound. Beef, $7.50 a pound. Tri-tip, $6.75 a pound. Top sirloin steak, $6.99 a pound. Fresh salmon, $12.99 a pound. And they have chicken tenders, fresh chicken tenders, for $3.25 a pound. And boneless pork chops at $2.25 a pound. And 10% off fresh bread. And they make their bread fresh every single day, along with kolaches and the meat market, butcher shop, bakery there, along with other grocery items up and down the middle part of Waco Custom Marketplace. Cold beer, cold wine, and cold drinks on the right-hand side. So get yourself over to Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's the 4th of July sales event at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Chrysler 300 with values up to $5,250 or 0% for 84 months. Be sure and see the 2021 Dodge Charger GT with total values up to $4,250 or 0% for 72 months. Allen Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco and online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Allen Samuels is your friend in the car business.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
Two other note. Jared Kerr from Lexington High School committed to Texas A&M. That was very much high up Baylor's protocol radar. I guess you could say high-level radar. He commits running back, defensive back, would play defensive back at Baylor, that star position. Baylor Athletics introduced new championship, the National Championship Court. We told you about this like 3 days after the game ended. Baylor is partnered with Artsman, a Cincinnati-based company specializing in crafting collectibles and custom items from game-used basketball courts. Now, Mack Rhoades just said they're going to use those courts somewhere, I would think, initially at the Farrell Center and eventually at the new place. But you personally, if you want a piece of that court in some sort of a collectible way, a special 48-hour pre-sale will be extended to the Bear Foundation members on June 29th and 30th, and eventually open up to more. For more information, go to artsmansport.com, ARTSMANSPORT.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Slapsticks Comedy Club. It's coming along. The lights are on, so to speak. Well, I mean, exactly. They got lights, the electricity. Important part of opening any business is getting electricity run. They're very excited about that. AC coming next week, and then hopefully the week after that we'll be able to open and do some comedy for you at Slapsticks Comedy. For more information, go to slapstickscomedy.com. Top 5 Bill Murray movies, and Armstrong going to have to get on the mic for this because he will debate me on this a little bit.
He's an angry man.
So, Smokey, I'm sure you've seen a couple of these.
Angry.
Who, Bill Murray?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 5.
What's the one where he has all those sludge and stuff all over him?
That's on the list. Get to the list.
Okay.
Sludge.
Number 5, What About Bob?
Never saw it.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
It's such a funny movie.
It should not be at number 5. It should be way higher.
Oh, really?
I think this is number 1.
You think this is number 1?
But this is like in my top 20 movies ever. So
yeah.
What About Bob?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
so good.
It's very funny.
All right.
And Richard Dreyfuss is even funnier in it than Bill Murray is. And Bill Murray is supposed to be, the goofball in it.
Yeah,
so,
Richard Dreyfuss is so good.
Yeah. Number 4, Ghostbusters. My friend Mike McBride from Slapsticks Comedy Club is going to see this top 5 and be furious with me because if he could get a tattoo, it would be of Ghostbusters. It's his favorite movie. But a classic one. This is the one where he's covered in slime, Smokey.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a hard list to make.
It's a really hard list to make. Bill Murray's a great actor. And
yeah.
And apparently now, I don't know, he was always this way, but now a pretty cool dude.
Really?
Yeah. So
Ghostbusters, okay.
You've seen that one?
I've seen that one.
Okay, you've seen Ghostbusters.
I'm shocked.
All right, number 3. You've seen Ghostbusters, correct?
Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay.
Seen this one?
Yeah. Number 3, Stripes.
I have not actually seen it.
Oh, this is a great movie.
They all make you laugh.
Yeah, this one is hilarious. I mean, it's about he and Harold Ramis because they don't have jobs. They decided to join the army.
Okay, I was going to say this is an army one, I think.
Oh yeah. It's wind up being national heroes.
Okay.
But John Candy's in it. It's a great movie. It's absolutely great.
Oh, John
Number
Candy.
2.
Top 5 John Candy movies.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Caddyshack, one of the great sports movies of all time.
Seen it?
Yeah,
not the big. I mean, it's good, but I always thought it was a little overrated.
Oh wow! Yeah,
Okay.
I mean it's a corny movie.
It definitely should be below What About Bob. You agree with me on that?
Well, I got to watch it this weekend.
Yeah,
you should.
Yeah, What About Bob's funny anytime. And number 1.
Number 1. Bump thinks Caddyshack's number one.
Number one? Oh, see, there's a lot of debate on Bill
debate.
Murray movies because people he's
the Kenny Loggins soundtrack on this, right?
Yeah,
isn't that right?
Yeah. He did a lot of soundtracks.
Caddyshack's it.
Or he
is the Augusta, the little thing about.
All right.
No. About Bill Murray and Augusta, right?
Yeah, he's
Augusta.
Yeah. Cinderella boy. Yeah. Yep. All right. By the way, here's the thing. Bill Murray was in Waco because his son coaches at Xavier.
Yes.
And where were we, Smokey? Not here. The one game we missed all year was the one where Bill Murray wasn't. We were away.
Yeah.
I was so sad. I was so sad. Number one, Groundhog Day. This movie is next level brilliant.
I respect it.
It's so good. And has everybody here of all the young unseen Groundhog Day?
Yes. What year was Groundhog Day?
1991.
So if this would have been up against Schindler's List when it comes to an Academy Award, would any of these have competed with Schindler's List?
No, because
no, not even close.
No, Groundhog Day would have won a Golden Globe maybe for best comedy. Yeah, but not for an Oscar because the Oscars don't laugh.
No,
you see the picture.
When's the last time a comedy won an Oscar?
As good as it gets.
Yeah. I get Caddyshack and Groundhog Day. I think they get mixed up to me. Yeah, they're all the same. All of his movies are the same.
No, absolutely not. That's part of the thing.
They're not similar in any way.
None of these movies are similar. All the characters are different. I mean, okay.
I love Bill Murray, and I love it when he's a really good golfer. He used to be terrible, and he's gotten better in that Pro-Am. He's funny. He's a funny guy.
The only thing these movies have in common is Bill Murray.
Yeah. Now, his character in Stripes, his character in Ghostbusters
Cinderella
are kind of similar.
Augusta.
But Groundhog Day, I mean, just the way you shoot the same thing over and over and over again, and it gets funnier each time.
He's in an apartment or a house, right, the whole time?
He's at a bed and breakfast, and he keeps waking up the same day over and over and over again.
Yeah, I did see that part. I can remember that part. They're all the same.
Yeah.
All right, Hayden is about to punch me, and Emma's about to leave. Well, she does that every day after the show like we all do. That's normal. Thanks to Grayson Grundhoefer. Thanks to Bill Peterson of Baylor. Boy, he was fantastic, Baylor men's basketball. And also, again, Don Truel, Lawrence Elkins, yet another part of that hour and nearly 30-minute sit-down in-studio interview from on Thursday. For Hayden and for Emma, thank you very much. Armstrong Sims as well. Paul Catalina, Craig's back with us on Monday. Our amazing sponsors continue to grow. Thank you as well, because we need you watching and listening and then spreading the word whenever you can. And check it out when you can, the SicEm365.com premium section for so much more. I'm David Smoak. Have a great weekend and good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.